telcos, Dito Telecommunity Corporation, formerly Mislatel, and known to us as Third Telco, and Instant Data Incorporated, a new applicant. In this hearing, we will ask Dito and Instant Data how they extend to help improve the telco services in the country and expand coverage to unserved and underserved areas, yung mga wala talagang connection. We will also find out if Dito is compliant with the conditions set under its certificate of public convenience and necessity, and if they are on track to meet their commitments. To enlighten us regarding the national security concerns hounding Dito, we also invited representatives from the Department of National Defense and the National Security Council. Due to the pandemic that led to our increased dependence on everything online, from the more essential activities like schooling, working, banking, and shopping, to our social activities like talking to family and friends, we are now more painfully aware of the sad state of internet services in our country. Sa nagdaang 9 na buwan, higit nating dama ang problema sa internet sa ating bansa. Mabagal, the Philippines ranked 110 out of 174 countries in the Speed Test Global Index. Mahal, telcos in the country are charging the fourth highest cost in ASEAN at about 315 pesos per 500 megabytes of prepaid mobile connection, which is almost at par with the internet cost in Singapore and Thailand, kung saan di hamak na mas maayos at mabilis ang kanilang internet. Kulang, batay sa 2019 DICT National ICT Household Survey, halos 64% ng ating mga komunidad ang walang telco tower sa kanilang lugar. 84% pa rin ang ating mga kababayan ang walang internet access. 70% ng ating mga barangay ang walang fiber optic cables. At halos 88% ng ating mga barangay ang hindi pa rin naaabot ng free wifi kahit na may free public wifi law na tayo. Ito'y batas na. The pandemic has indeed accelerated the demand for better and more inclusive internet service. Kung dati, hindi ka lang makapag-social media tuwing walang internet, ngayon, hindi ka na makakapasok sa klase o kaya makakapagtrabaho. At a time when everyone relies on the internet for survival, in the view of the new normal, we need to keep the same status quo is criminal. So aside from pushing for regulatory reforms, such as the streamlining of permitting requirements for telcos and internet providers, and setting minimum standards for internet service, this committee pins its hope on the arrival of new players who we expect will encourage a healthy competition among telcos and speed up the process of providing a more affordable, more reliable, and faster internet for the Filipinos. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our senators here today. Senator Marcos, Senator Zubiri, and Senator Hontiveros. We also have Senator Bongo. So with that, I would like to ask the committee secretariat to read the names of our resource persons present here today for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honors. For today's public hearing, we have the following resource persons. From the Department of Information and Communications Technology, Director Leo Orbistondo Jr., Attorney Chad Martin Moscoso, Attorney Omar Sana, and Attorney Frederick Espinosa. From the Department of National Defense, we have Attorney Raymond Senon Palmera. From the National Telecommunications Commission, we have Attorney Gamaliel Cordoba and Deputy Commissioner Edgardo Cabarrios. From the Securities and Exchange Commission, we have Attorney Trina Donabel Gohunco and Attorney Pamela K. Baldon. From the National Security Council, we have General Hermogenes C. Esperon Jr., Assistant Director General Maria Victoria C. Castro, Mr. Jed Patrick P. Hunterial, and Attorney Chari Valenzuela. From the Philippine Competition Commission, we have Attorney Faye Condes de Sagun. From Dito Telecommunity, we have Mr. Dennis Uy and Attorney Adele Tamano. From Instant Data Incorporated, we have Mr. Stephen Joseph. And from democracy.net.ph, we have Engineer Pierre Tito Gaya. That will be all, Your Honor.
Thank you to the Secretariat. Before we begin, I would like to ask my fellow senators if any of you would like to have a brief opening statement. None? All right. Maybe we will let's begin by giving Instant Data Incorporated a chance to introduce themselves since they are the new players here today. And then after that, we will ask the senators to field in their questions for Instant Data and also ask the pertinent agencies to clarify if Instant Data has actually accomplished what needs to be accomplished to be able to be granted the franchise. So let's begin with the representative of Instant Data this morning.
Good morning, Madam Senator. We apologize. Our president, Alfonso Cruz, cannot be here today. He's having trouble with his connection, unfortunately. We have one of our...
Teka muna, so yung mismong chairman ninyo, walang internet connection ngayon?
Yes, ma'am. Ironically, yes.
Nasaan ba siya?
He's in Manila, ma'am, also, but there's just something wrong with trying to get on the internet.
Well, you know what? We have enough time this morning. Perhaps we can hear from him even towards the end, just to show his face, so we know who we're granting this franchise to, if ever. I mean, the responsibility of this franchise. Although we would like to hear what the representative has to say, we need to hear a commitment directly from the owner or the chairman of the company. Otherwise, we will have to defer your application.
Absolutely, ma'am. Totally understand. We also have one of our directors here, Mr. Ryan Resurrection, to be able to give a brief intro for Instant Data, so that all the members of the committee and all the resource people can get to know us better.
Okay, go ahead, please. Your name again?
My name, ma'am, is Stephen Joseph.
And your designation?
I am the corporate secretary, ma'am, for Instant Data.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
It's going to be Mr. Ryan Resurrection to introduce our company.
Okay, Mr. Resurrection, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Ryan Resurrection. I'm one of the directors of Instant Data Inc. So in a nutshell, our intention is to fill in the gaps of internet broadband connectivity and provide some of the underserved Filipinos across the archipelago faster, more affordable, high-quality broadband internet through two modalities, meaning we'll have both wired and wireless modalities in our systems, which is a great alternative to what the current incumbents are offering. We plan to leverage new technologies such as LMDS and perhaps later on establish our own international cable landing system to further reduce the cost of these internet services in the country. This will enable us to roll out in further areas of the Philippines, more particularly to rural areas. And since our capabilities include wireless, we will be able to operate at a lower capex, roll out faster, and our systems would be much more scalable than traditional wired cable and fiber systems. That's our brief introduction.
Thank you. That was pretty short. I would like to, although we appreciate short, what you've made are very general statements. Why should we trust you with a franchise? What is your track record? What is the background of the incorporators, or have you started out something similar of this nature in the past?
Okay, For those questions, I would like to field it to our technical consultant, Mr. Alex Paredes. He's here with us today also.
Okay, Mr. Paredes. Bakit namin kayo bibigyan ng prangkisa? Limitado lang yung mga frequencies natin halimbawa or although gusto natin na may competition, bakit kayo pwedeng pagkatiwalaan yan? Anong kapabilidad ninyo? Please unmute if you, baka hindi. Mr. Paredes, wala bang connection? Mr. Bartolome, attorney, what's happening?
Madam Chair, Madam
Yes.
Chair, this is Migs Subiri, Senator.
Yes, Senator, Majority Leader.
Yeah, maybe I'm not sure if there's ready to answer questions at this point in time, but we can probably move them to the second part of the hearing while we're awaiting the chairperson. I think some of the questions that you'd ask would probably be aptly answered by the president and chairperson.
Okay.
I think it would be more prudent that way because we'll be asking the same questions to him anyways, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
Because it seems that those questions, yeah, we'll probably need the big boss there to answer those questions on commitment.
Okay, I think that would be more pragmatic. Let's move you to the second half, but you know what? Let me already express a little bit of disappointment because you should have come in ready with your connection, or if there's a problem, you should have at least said it ahead of time. Especially you're applying for a telco franchise.
We understand.
Okay, let's move on then. What I have here, I've heard since we know that we are tackling the franchise of Dito. They have a presentation. So let's begin with the presentation of Dito Telecommunity. I would like to know who will do the presentation. Is it Mr. Uy himself or Attorney Adel Taman?
Good morning, Madam Senator, Your Honors. With your permission, on behalf of Dito Telecommunity, may we present a very brief opening statement and presentation, Your Honors.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you, Attorney.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman of the Senate Committee on Legislative Franchises, the Honorable Senator Grace Poe, Senator Marcos, Senator Zubiri, Senator Oliveros, and Senator Go. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Allow me to have just a quick introduction of myself. I'm Attorney Adel Tamano. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer of Dito Telecommunity. Appearing with me here today and ready to answer any of your questions is our Chief Technology Officer. He is retired Major General Rodolfo Santiago. And on any security matters, Your Honors, we have our Security Officer, Colonel Rolin Del Prado. And we come here, Your Honors, to seek the extension of the Dito franchise that will lapse in 2023. We humbly ask this from the esteemed senators present to ensure that our current and future network rollout and subsequent commercial operations will continue unhampered for the ultimate benefit of the Filipino consumers. As you said, Madam Senator Poe, one of the key learnings of the COVID pandemic is the critical role that telecommunications play in the lives of Filipinos. In the past months, a good number of Filipinos are working from home. Our children are studying online, and private businesses as well as government are functioning despite lockdowns and quarantine. And this is because of access to the internet and mobile communications. We have all become more aware of the need for better and more accessible telecommunication services for Filipinos. And from day one, the mandate of providing better and more accessible services has stood as the cornerstone of Dito Telecommunity. Our government commitments to improve the telecommunications sector, Your Honors, are ambitious. We will double download speeds by year one of our operations. We will quadruple it by year two and achieve 87% population coverage by 2025. Most importantly, we aim to make the next generation technology, what we call pure 5G or standalone 5G, more widespread and more available to the country. By becoming a viable competitor in the telco industry, we aim to improve services overall and, most importantly, make prices more competitive. Now more than ever, Dito is investing in our country, Your Honors, and we are a partner in helping revive the Philippine economy. In terms of investment, we have committed to spend 257 billion pesos within 5 years. As for job creation, within this year alone, we have already created 500 new jobs because of our network rollout and operations. Let me please take this opportunity also, Your Honors, to trace back what Dito has been able to achieve in the past months of 2020 in terms of our commitments and our rollout. And may we ask the Honorable Secretariat to please allow us to share our screen through our team member, Mr. Jeff Paulino. So these are our achievements in the past few months. Number one, in March 2020, the Dito first domestic and international phone and video calls have been made 2 months ahead of schedule and despite the pandemic. Number two, as of July this year, the Dito core network is in place. Number three, we have reported in September of 2020 that more than 1,300 towers have been constructed. And in just a matter of 1 month, in October of 2020, we have constructed 1,532 base stations. These infrastructure achievements are more than enough, Your Honors, to cover the 37% of the population and deliver speeds of a minimum of 27 Mbps. As of today, we have close to 1,900 towers already constructed, Your Honors. Number four, Dito has laid out more than 12,000 kilometers of cable. Number five, the first series of 5G technical calls were made in October of 2020, a video which we will show the honorable senators shortly. Number six, the first wave of our friendly user test is also underway to ensure that our systems are ready by the time we have our commercial launch in 2021. Number seven, we have already invested more than 150 billion pesos this year, and we expect to invest a minimum of 50 billion in 2021, with a total investment of 257 billion pesos in 5 years. On a monthly average, we have hired 49 employees per month, even during the height of the pandemic, bringing our current workforce to 500. Now, Your Honors, in terms of national security, Dito has complied with 12 out of the 12 security requirements of the National Cybersecurity Plan. Among these are, we have secured our certificate of cybersecurity. We have participated in the conduct of the national cybersecurity drills and exercises, and we are proud to say that our Dito CERT and SOC team was the most active participant. And to show our commitment to national security, the Dito Network Operations Center and Security Operations Center will be inaugurated this week. And we have invited our National Security Advisor, Secretary Hermogenes Esperon, and some members of the armed forces to an inspection of the facilities. Finally, Your Honors, please allow us to say that while our goals are ambitious, we do this because Filipinos deserve world-class telecommunications. We are hopeful that the honorable members of the Senate will help us achieve this mandate by approving our franchise. Your Honors, Dito is very much ready for the government audit on January 7, 2021, and to launch commercially in March of 2021 with at least 37% population coverage and minimum speeds of 27 Mbps. May we now request Your Honors to please watch this video. Maraming salamat po and good morning. I'm sorry, Your Honors, we're just having a few technical glitches. We'll reset and we'll play the
Direct to
video.
the file.
Perhaps while we're waiting for your technical people to fix that, may we ask the NTC to do a compliance report or a presentation before we accept questions? NTC? Nasa phone pa yata si Commissioner Cordoba. Attorney Cordoba, NTC,
Yes,
you have a
yes, ma'am.
presentation, sir?
Yes po. Opo. Sandali lang po. Your Honors, can you give me one minute po? May inaayos lang po sa slide. Just 1 minute.
Okay. While we're waiting, are there any questions first? I think Senator Marcos, you raised your hand.
Your Honorable Chair,
Yes.
Madam Senator, we're ready to present the video if
Go
you
ahead
allow.
then. Yes, please, go ahead. This is for Dito Telecom.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you for that optimistic presentation. Let me now ask the NTC. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, Madam Chair, we're ready.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Opo. Can we share our PowerPoint presentation, Your Honors, if we may be allowed? Your Honors, but this is not related to Dito alone, but the telecommunications sector as a whole. Would that be okay?
Well, I suppose, yeah, why don't you do your presentation and then we will ask you later on also specifically about Dito.
Okay, Your Honors. Can I ask your technical people, Your Honors, if the slide presentation is already available for sharing?
Attorney Bartolome, are we ready?
Honor, I'm not a host for this meeting.
Ha? Nag-ano?
Hold on just a second. Who is in
Um,
charge of the slides? The committee secretary? Who is supposed to be putting the slides up?
Your Honor, it must be Paolo Arceo of NTC.
Where are you, Mr. Arceo?
He's here, Your Honor. I think he just connected.
Naku, kung masama ang connection ng NTC, tayo pa kaya?
Wala naman pong problem sa connection, Your Honors. I think for
So,
up to
ano
po
yung problema?
there it is, Your Honor.
Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair and other members and senators present during this morning's hearing. We would like to give you some kind of backgrounder on what's happening to our telecommunications sector. We have details here, Your Honor, but if you can just give us your some time, we'll go through it. First slide, please. Well, unlike the rest of the world that mainly rolled out telecommunications infrastructure for voice po, the Philippines concentrated and became the texting capital of the world. So, doon po nakapag-concentrate yung unang start ng ating telecommunication services in the mid-90s. There was even a time that 1.4 billion text messages per day were being sent. This technology, however, did not require so many towers until the era of the smartphone began. There. Okay, in 2012. So from 1996, around 96, 95, up to the start po ng smartphone ay hindi naman kailangan na masyadong maraming towers. But starting 2012, 2013, medyo nangailangan na po ng towers because of the nagbago na po ang technology. Hindi na po texting. But however, from 1996 to 2012, yung po mga local government units natin, they saw the revenue potential for texting, kaya po they came up with so many permits and recurring annual fees for revenue regulation. Actually, they have a legal basis for that, which is the local government code and the devolution. So nung po nag-start ang smartphones ng 2012, the above red tape po were felt as Telco started overhauling its network for 3G and 4G. Next slide, please. So starting 2013, yun pong ating pagdagdag ng towers ay naapektuhan na po ng red tape. In 2019, common tower and passive infrastructure providers committed 400 billion based on Board of Investment records. However, soon these foreign providers also started complaining that they had rolled out 10 times faster in other countries. Nagka-problema po sila sa pakikipag-usap sa ating mga local government units. The legal red tape problem is real. There are numerous permits requiring so many signatories and so many signatures. The government can solve the problem by facilitating telcos to provide efficient services to the public. Well, just to give you one example of that, Your Honors. Next slide, please. Ang isa pong mabigat na challenge, not only here in Metro Manila, but in other places as well, ay yun pong requirement ng Homeowners Association na clearance or approval. So ang ating pong villages in Metro Manila and other places, even the barangays, ay ayaw pong pumayag na magkaroon ng cell sites sa kanilang lugar or cell towers. Well, the reason for that po is maybe they're thinking that it has the radiation is dangerous. Second, masakit po sa mata. It's aesthetics po niya ay hindi masyadong maganda kaya po ayaw nila. So for example, Your Honors, we're talking about Ayala Alabang. Ayala Alabang is 700 hectares. And would you believe that there's only one cell site that is inside Ayala Alabang? So that is the situation there. So yun pong buong Ayala Alabang na 700 hectares ay it is being served from the outside. And the other places as well, Green Hills po, dito sa Valle Verde, yun pong Green Meadows, for example, before had 1 cell site or 2 cell sites for all of Green Meadows. But right now po, they ask the telcos to remove it. So there is 0 cell site inside. So yan po ang problema ng Smart. Marami po yan. And then the next slide, please. Ito naman po ang sa Globe. So it's the same thing. Marami pong villages, maraming lugar, marami pong buildings, marami pong condominiums. Ayaw po magpalagay ng cell sites or indoor building solutions. Next slide, please. But despite that, meron naman po tayong positive news. Since 2016 to the present, improvements in internet service for both fixed and mobile broadband has been monitored. Why did we choose 2016? But because that's when President Duterte started his administration. As of November 2020, fixed broadband increased by 262%, 262.70%, while mobile broadband, yung pong fixed increased by 262%, while mobile broadband grew by 148%. Ito po ay based on the Ookla Speed Test Global Index. Sila po ang world leader sa pagkuha po ng internet speed sa iba't ibang bansa. And dito po sa Philippines, from next slide please. From July 2016 up to November 2020, ayan po, from 7.91 Mbps in July 2016, right now it's 28.69 Mbps. That's a 262.70% increase. Ito po ay based on 100 million tests from January, for this year po, January to November, based po yan sa 100 million tests conducted for fixed and mobile. And actually, Your Honors, if you would want, kompleto po kami sa data sa municipal level, sa city level, sa provincial level, and sa regional level. But we just presented the countrywide data kasi po masyado namang isasubmit na lang po namin sa inyo. Sa next slide, please. Ito po, ito naman po yung sa mobile. In July 2016, we started at 7.44 Mbps. Right now, we are at 18.49 Mbps or a 148.52% increase in speed. Yeah. Next slide, please. Your Honors, we isolated January to November of 2020 just to give you an idea of what happened in the telecommunications sector this year 2020 from January to November. So kung mapapansin nyo po, we started pataas po from January to Feb, but in March, that's when the lockdown started. Ang start po ng lockdown natin is March 16 to April 30, 2020. Yan po yung imposition of initial ECQ over the entirety of Luzon. So that's from March 16 to April 30. That's 1.5 months. So yan po naman iba't ibang colors, yan po yung iba't ibang lockdown. So different areas, just to give you an example, yung pong yellow is May 1 to 15, NCR naman po yan. And then, and so on and so forth. So actually po, hanggang ngayon po, ay may mga areas pa rin pong may lockdown, but medyo mas light na po ang kanyang classification. Most of the areas would be GCQ and MGCQ. So, despite this lockdown, one area po kasi nagka-problema ang ating mga telcos is nung nagkaroon po tayo ng lockdown, people stayed at home. They worked from home starting March, and the the whole family ay nasa bahay. Ang entertainment po nila ay dyan po sa internet, sa Netflix, for example. And then, ang pag-aaral po ng mga bata ay nagsimula na rin po dyan. Kaya po bumagsak po ang ating internet speed in March. And then, ganoon din po noong April. But starting May, ay nung medyo nagluwang na po kasi ang naging problem po namin, based on what happened was, tumaas ang demand. The demand po, ang estimate is 500% increase in demand ng ating sa ating internet use. Kaya lang po, hindi po makaikot ang ating mga service providers dahil ang hirap pong umikot, ayaw pong magpadaan sa mga checkpoints, ayaw pong so medyo nahirapan po. And then yung po mga tao, pati po yung mga employees ng mga telcos ay marami po nagkakasakit, marami po nahahawa. So we really needed time to be able to recover. Kaya po starting naman po ng May onwards ay tumaas na po tayo. It's an upward trajectory. So I also want you to know na during this time po ay nangyari po yung mabibigat din po na bagyo. Nandiyan po si Ambo noong May 14. Tapos noon naman pong start of online classes in various private universities and colleges noong August. Tapos dumaan po yung Typhoon Quinta, October 25. Start of classes naman po ng public schools din ay October. And then last month po, November, dyan po nangyari ang mabibigat na Typhoon Rolly at Typhoon Ulysses. So ano po bang ibig sabihin ng slide na ito? It means that we had the problem because of the pandemic, because of the lockdown. Mahirap po umikot yung mga tao. If ang engineers po ay papuntahin sa isang lugar, for example, they cannot take a plane. And if they arrive, for example, sa isang lugar para mag-ayos, they have to quarantine for 14 days. So isa po yan ang problema. Pangalawa po would be the surge of 500% in demand. Third po is yun pong mga typhoons na dumaan sa atin. So lahat po yan ay minamanage po natin with the telcos. Tulong-tulong po kami. And maganda naman po, pataas naman po yung trend. Next slide, please. So ganoon din po sa mobile. Same trend din naman po ang nangyari. So sa fixed and sa mobile ay pareho naman po na upward trajectory. Next slide, please. Okay, ito po, kasi po si UCLA, ang meron lang po kaming result is Philippines. We don't have the result yet for other countries because we are helping out sa UCLA po, but ang available pa lang po sa data natin is October kapag sa other countries. So if you look at our ranking in October 2020, wala pa po yung November, Philippines speed is 32nd in Asia out of 50 countries. Number 32 po tayo out of 50 countries. Next slide, please. Sa fixed line po yun. Sa mobile broadband ay number 34 po tayo out of 50 countries sa Asia. Next slide, please. Sa Asia Pacific po, we are number 20 out of 46 sa fixed broadband. Next slide, please. Sa mobile naman po, we are number 23 out of 46 sa Asia Pacific. Next slide, please. In ASEAN, number 6 po tayo out of 9 for fixed. And sa mobile naman po, we are number 8 out of 10. But that is October data. Wala pa po kasi yung November data for other countries. Next slide, please. Now, I would just like to point out that a study was made by Fitch Ratings po. Lumalabas po na ang isa tayo sa top 10 telecommunications, top 10 countries in terms of telecommunications investment ng ating pong private sector. So, based on Fitch study, telecommunications capex to above 40% of total revenue amongst the highest within Fitch Asia Pacific Telecommunications portfolio. Number 10 po tayo. 40% of the total revenue is invested back into infrastructure. Next slide, please. Okay, for the past 4 years, medyo napansin po natin that Globe and Smart have been investing heavily in telecommunication service and infrastructure. I think this is because maganda po ang naging proyekto ng ating Pangulo na magkaroon po ng third telco, and that is what we're taking up right now, which is Dito Telecoms. Because of the pagpasok po ng Dito Telecoms ay talaga pong gumastos ang Smart at Globe, at they are preparing for the entry of Dito Telecoms for their commercial operations. We started the telecommunications at the third telco bidding in 2018. So si Smart po, si Globe noon si Globe po ay nasa 43.3 billion. Si Smart naman po ay nasa 58.5 billion ang ipinasok nila noong 2018. But nung naramdam po nila na papasok na si Dito, si Globe po ay nag-invest ng 63 billion in 2019, and si Smart naman po 70 billion in 2019. And then ito po kasing 2020, si Globe is 50.3, si Smart is 70 billion, but with an asterisk po yan pareho, because I think they had to scale down dahil matagal po silang hindi nakapag-roll out dahil po sa mga lockdowns. But I think bumilis po, I will show you later, bumilis ang permit, so tinaas na po nila ulit ang CAPEX for 2020. Next slide, please. Now, I would just like the honorable body to know that in the Philippines, so far, kung sakasakali, ang una-una pong beses na magagastos ang ating government sa infrastructure would be 2021. Dahil po yan ay nasama na sa budget ng DICT. Ang kailangan po ng based on the estimate of DICT, ang kailangan po nila is around 10 to 12 billion pesos to be able to put up a fiber internet backbone, from Aparito Hulo, and then magkakaroon po ng left side to Palawan and right side to Samar. 10 to 12 billion po ang kanilang request, But as of the National Expenditure Program, ang na-approve lang po sa kanila is 900 million pesos. So yun po ang nailagay dun sa kanilang budget. So ang request po nila is 10 to 12B. Ang NEP po is 900M. And sana po nga sa BICAM ay madagdagan po ito para po naman magkaroon tayo ng infrastructure, Kasi po, if you would notice, Your Honors, in other countries, they felt the need for national broadband, kaya po gumastos po talaga sila. For example, South Korea invested 24 billion for public internet backbone. Taiwan, yung po sa South Korea, 24 billion US dollars. Taiwan spent 2.4 billion US dollars to upgrade the country's digital infrastructure. Hong Kong, $18 billion. Japan, 162 billion spending on ICT annually. So, makikita po ninyo, Your Honors, ayan po ang ginagastos nila. Ito po si China. Released 289 billion for telecommunications infrastructure investments between 2016 and 2020. Sa Pilipinas po, so far, baka po ang pinakaunang beses na mangyari po yun would be next year. Based on NEP, that's 900 million pesos. At kung maayos po sa BICAM, ay madadagdagan naman po yan. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at the pricing. Gumawa po ng study ang cable.company.uk ng study on pricing. Philippines po, out of 228 countries, ang Philippines po is number 60. So medyo mababa po siya, less than sa lower half po siya ng presyohan. In the Philippines, ang average price of 1 gigabyte of data is $1.42 US dollars. And sa South Korea po, 10.94 US dollars. Okay, so ayun po, we're number 60 out of 228 countries. Nasa lower part po tayo ng presyo. This is a study not made by the NTC, not inside the country, but by an entity outside of the Philippines, which is cable.company.uk. This is a study for 2020. Next slide, please. Now, may tinatawag po tayong International Telecoms Union. This is the UN body for telecommunications. Kumbaga po sa health, ito po ang WHO, World Health Organization. Kumbaga po naman sa labor, this is the International Labor Organization. So, ayan po yun, International Telecoms Union. Ang ginawa po nila, they measured yung pricing for 2019 and they based it po on as a percentage of gross national income. Okay. So, meron po silang mga sunod-sunod dito na baskets at binigyan po nila ng presyo as a percentage of GNI. For example, the first one, mobile data and voice low usage, 70 minutes plus 20 SMS plus 500 mobile data. Ang global average po sa buong mundo is 5.9% of GNI per capita. In the Philippines, it's 2.36%. So mas mababa po tayo. We are number 93 out of 191 countries. For mobile data and high voice usage, 140 minutes voice plus 70 SMS plus 1.5 gigabyte of data, the global average is 10.3% of GNI per capita. Sa Philippines po, it's 2.36%. We are 75 out of 191. Sa mobile voice, 140 minutes plus 70 SMS plus 1.5 gigabytes, it's 4.3% ang global average. Tayo po is 2.96. We are 124 out of 191 countries. Sa mobile data, ito po mismo yung internet lang. Sa cellphone po, the percentage of GNI per capita is 4.3%. Sa Philippines is 1.78%. So we are number 89 out of 191 countries. Sa fixed broadband naman, ito po yung fixed line, fiber or sa kable po, 5 gigabytes, 10.3% po ang percentage of GNI per capita. Sa Philippines, it's only 4.16. So we are number 102 out of 191 countries. If you would observe, all ICT price baskets of the Philippines are below the global average based on the study made by International Telecoms Union. Balik lang po tayo sandali. If you would notice, one slide back please. Balikan ko po. Si South Korea po, ang sinisingil ng mga telco sa kanilang mga customers on the average is $10.94 average price of 1 gigabyte of data. Sa Philippines po is $1.42 as an average price of 1 gigabyte of data. But can you bring it back please? Next slide, pabalik po, pabalik. Balikan ko po, si Korea ay gumastos po ng $24 billion para sa kanyang internet backbone. Ang Philippines po, as of today, ang government investment po ay 0. Balik sa next slide, please. Pero tayo po ay mababa ang presyo compared sa South Korea. So, ibig po sabihin, sa South Korea, gobyerno po ang gumagastos sa infrastructure, and then despite that subsidy, which is very big sa infrastructure, ay mahal pa rin po ang ibinabayad ng bawat tao sa paggamit ng mobile data. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So, yung pong World Bank ay nagbigay po sa atin ng suggestion that the Philippine government should take the lead in transforming the economy into a digital one. Sa madaling salita po, ay sinasabi po ng World Bank, maganda po sana if the government can also invest in infrastructure, just like what is being done in other countries. In other countries po kasi, ang best practice is that the government puts up the infrastructure, and then yun pong mga telcos ay nagre-rent lang po sa government. Kaya po, OPEX lang ang kanilang gastos at hindi po capital expenditure. But maganda din naman po yun because nga po sa ganda ng internet sa kanilang lugar ay madami pong commerce, marami pong economic activities na nangyayari, meron pong e-learning at saka po yung government services ay napapaabot sa tao. Ano po kasi tayo, I think in the Philippines, we're still in the mindset of putting up roads dahil yan po ay nakikita. But actually po, maganda po na instead of roads, or well, aside from roads, ay mag-invest din po tayo sa infrastructure para po mapababa ang presyo at mapabilis din po ang rollout dahil po sa government ay wala pong red tape dahil ang mga LGUs po ay susunod and the government has the power of expropriation para po sa right of way. Next slide please. Now, ito pong sa COVID pandemic ay it's an unprecedented worldwide calamity. Nagkaroon po tayo ng ECQ starting March 2020. So, because of that, nagbago po ang way data is being consumed by the Filipinos today. Nabanggit po ni Chairman Grace po kanina, ay ang banking, ang pagbili ng mga day-to-day goods ng mga tao, at saka po ang the way people interact with one another, ay talaga po nasa social media ngayon dahil mahirap pong lumabas because of the COVID-19 situation. Next slide, please. From gaming to video streaming, video conferencing, online banking, work from home, connectivity, and commercial transactions, internet is noticeably stable throughout the country during this crisis. It is important to note that since the onset of ECQ until now, internet connectivity did not fail in our country, notwithstanding an estimated 500% increase in demand as reported by Converge and the other telcos. Next slide, please. Actually po nung simula, medyo okay naman siya, no? But nung nag-start po ang e-learning, medyo distance learning, talagang bumigat po ang pangangailangan. Just to give you how it is, for example, sa isang bahay, during a school day and a work day, ang magulang, for example, ang nanay at ang tatay ay working in their offices and yung 2-3 anak ay nasa school. Naka-face-to-face po sila sa kanilang trabaho. But right now, the 5 of them are all at home, working from home, and studying from home. So, yan po ang naging problema. So, not only in the Philippines po ang nagkaroon ng problema, but in all other parts of the world. Nandyan po ang nangyari kunwari sa Hong Kong, 10% of students have no electronic device and 40% of primary and secondary students have to share it with other members of the family. Sa Vietnam, infrastructure, teachers, and students are ill-equipped. In Cambodia, ganoon din po. United States, lack of computers, stable internet connections, or support at home is to keep students focused. It's a worldwide problem po. Yung paggamit ng internet now because of homeschooling and work from home. But everyone is trying to cope. Next slide please. So, ano po ang ginawa ng NTC para matulungan po natin ang ating mga telcos during this time? To facilitate the improvement of telecommunication services, NTC immediately reached out po sa ating mga telcos on areas where NTC may provide assistance. Ito po ang tulong at atin naman po nabigay. Extension of deadlines for renewals and payments of permits. 3 po yung binigay natin. At na-extend po na na-extend. So, okay naman po sila. Wala naman po silang reklamo sa atin. At lahat po ng permits nila ay mabilis po na ilalabas. And then, kapag nagkakaproblema po sila sa pag-rollout sa buildings, sa homeowners association, local government units, kami po ay personal na tumatawag o sumusulat para po matulungan sila makapasok at makapag-rollout at makapag-do ng maintenance work. Next slide, please. Now, meron din po kaming isang initiative, maybe the Senate can help us on this. Noon po kasing 2014, the DPWH issued a department order signed by former Secretary Singson, Department Order number 73. It prohibited posts and towers of phone and mobile service providers along the national highway. The DO ordered the removal of such structures and instructed telcos to secure its own right-of-way. So you can imagine po, yung ating po mga telcos, they have to get their own right-of-way sa mga national highway at pinagbawal po sila doon. Kanya-kanyang kayod po ito, bawat isa. So it's really so hard to do that. Kukuha ka po ng permit ng area to kunwari po, tatawid ka ng munisipyo to munisipyo, barangay to barangay, at yun din pong right of way mismo. So that's one problem that we are encountering ever since 2014. So we wrote the DPWH for their consideration po kung pwedeng, nagkaroon na po ng technical working group dito na proposals to amend or revise certain provisions of the DPWH department order. So hopefully po ay mailabas na po yun para hindi po mahirapan makakuha ng right of way at permits along the national highway sa ating mga telcos. I would think dito is experiencing that as well. And then, naging tulong din po is lumabas po yung Joint Memorandum Circular number 1, series of 2020, on July 23, 2020. The DICT, DILG, DPWH, Department of Housing, DOTR, CAAP, DOH, FDA, and ARTA signed a joint memorandum circular to streamline the requirements and reduce procedural delays in the processing of permits and licenses for the construction of shared passive telecommunication tower infrastructure. So ito po, nakatulong po ito at saka po yung Bayanihan Law which was issued by Congress, by the House of Representatives and by the Senate and signed by the President. Next slide, please. Now, kung mapansin nyo po, pakibalik lang please, slide before this. Yung pong Joint Memorandum Circular number 1 only refers to tower infrastructure. So gusto rin po sana namin mangyari ito, next slide please, sa fiber. We wrote the ICT, the ILG, DPWH, Department of Housing and ARTA to include fiber optic networks in the streamlining of permitting process, similar to JMC number 1. In coordination with the concerned national government agencies and local government units. Fiber optic po kasi is very important because they provide the fundamentals for telecommunications complementing the shared base tower infrastructure. Inclusion of fiber optic cable permits in the streamlining process will establish seamless integration between fiber optic cable and wireless technologies. Yan. Next slide please. Ito po ay hiningi rin ng telcos kung pwede pong makapagbayad sa amin ng online. Okay naman po sa amin. Nilabas na po namin ang memorandum order but meron lang po kaming inaantay from COA dahil po sa humingi po kami ng instruction kung paano po mag-issue ng resibo, ang OR, kapag ang ginamit po is online payment para po hindi po kami magkamali. So that's another move that we were doing. Next slide please. Okay, so ano po ang naging resulta nun pong tulungan natin with the telcos? Doon po sa Joint Memorandum Circular number 1 at saka po doon sa Bayanihan Act at saka po doon sa tutukan po natin with the LGUs and barangays and other entities po ito po bumilis po siya simula po nagkaroon ng but actually ang pinakamabigat po rito was the SONA pronouncement of the President and noon pong humarap sa kanya si Mr. Ernest Koo of Globe at sinabi, Mr. President, we really want to roll out. Gusto namin bilisan, but the problem is hindi po lumalabas ang permits ng local government units. So tumulong po ang DILG, ARTA, and other government agencies para bumilis po ito. Now, yan pong may pula na mark. Noon pong 2019, ang average monthly permits or building permits for towers na ini-issue po na nakukuha ng Globe Telecom for towers ay 63 per month. Average number of permits per month na nakukuha po ng Globe ay 63. Si Smart naman po, noon pong 2019, ang average na nakukuha po niya ay 50 permits per month in 2019. Kung makikita po ninyo, simula po nung SONA pronouncement ng Presidente noong July, August, September, October, November, ay tumaas po ito um, per month, such that the average for Globe for this year, actually hindi na po namin sinama yung January to June dahil abnormal times naman po yan. Ang kinuha po namin is nung nagsimula po yung SONA pronouncement at yung pong pandemic kung saan po nakapag-issue ng Joint Memorandum Circular at Bayanihan Law, naging 371 po per month. That's an increase of 490%. Sa Smart naman po, 95 per month ang nakuha po nila, average for 2020, that's 90% increase. So if you would notice, Your Honors, meron po talagang problema sa permits before the SONA pronouncement of the President and before po nagkaroon ng Joint Memorandum Circular. Yan po ang nangyari. Tumaas po ngayon by 490% sa Globe. Sa Smart naman po ay 90%. Si dito po ay wala pang data dito because hindi pa naman nag-start yung kanilang pagkuha ng permits in 2019. Okay, next slide please.
Attorney, excuse me if I may interrupt. How many more slides do you have? I mean, these are all very informative. I just want to be able to budget our time.
Siguro po mga 7 slides, Your Honors.
Please speed it up. Go ahead.
Yes. Apo. Okay, ito po, nagkamali lang po kami ng computation. Ito naman po sa towers built. Sa na-build po ng Globe Telecom for 2019, 92 towers per month average. Smart naman po 237. Pero sa ngayon pong 2020, nakapag-build po si Globe ng 132 towers, si Smart naman po ay 63. So tumaas din po yung kanilang percentage. Si Smart po bumaba pero mayroon po silang explanation for the next slide po. Next slide please. Okay, ang towers built po natin so far as of now is 22,405. Cumulative to date po yan. Lahat po ng klase ng tower pinagsama-sama namin, we have 22,400. Next slide please. Okay. Ito po yung tungkol sa fiber optic footprint po, ano. Hindi lang po ito po inayos namin sana kanina. Si Smart po kasi for this year, for 2020, they concentrated on fiber optic. 2019 po nila is 322,000. But as of now, November 2020, 422,000 po. So nakapagdagdag po sila ng 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic. Si Globe naman po, 54,000 noong 2019, ngayon po 66,000 sila, 518. Si Converge, 22,800, ngayon po is nasa 33,000 po sila. Si Dito naman po, wala sila noong 2019, but right now they are already 13,152. So nakita po ninyo, bumupupok naman po, nagle-lay down sila ng cable at marami po at mahahabang cable ang kanilang nailabas. Pwede po ibalik lang sandali sa slide ng tungkol po dun sa towers. Okay, ano po kasi, we have been, sorry. Dun sa number of towers built. So, sorry, yung nakalagay na total of...
Yun ba yung nakalagay 22,000 cell towers?
22,400.
22,000, sabi mo.
Balikan yun, I just wanted to tell you something. In ano po kasi, we are always comparing ourselves to Vietnam because almost same po ang ating, yung pong nakalagay 24,000, halos yung katabi po ng mga presentation yan kanina. Okay, anyway, we're always comparing ourselves to, sorry. We're always comparing ourselves to Vietnam because we more or less have the same 300,000 square kilometers and more or less the same number of population, mga 110, 120, ano. But in Vietnam, they have around 90,000 towers. Sa atin po ay nasa 22,400 pa lang. Now, why is that the case? Malaking epekto po 'yun sa ating connectivity at sa ating speed at quality, ano. In Vietnam po kasi, Your Honors, ang target po ng DICT is to be able to put up 50,000 more towers. Now, para makita nyo po yung pagkakaiba, I will let you know para po magkaroon tayo makita po nyo kung paano nyo kami matulungan. In Vietnam po kasi, the top 3 operators na nag-comprise po ng 93% of the market, it's Vitel, Vinaphone, and Mobifone are all owned by the government. And sila po ang nagtatayo ng towers, sila rin po ang nagtatayo ng sanilang fiber optic at naglelay ng fiber optic cables. The 3 are all owned by the national government dahil tinitignan po nila ito as parang kalsada. Hindi lang, ano po siya, government infrastructure. Ang Vitel is owned and operated by the Ministry of Defense. Vinaphone is a subsidiary of the Vietnam Post and Telecommunications Group. Ito po yung post office po nila. And yung po Mobifone is managed by the Ministry of Information and Communications Technology. So yun po sa Vietnam, ang gumastos po sa CAPEX ay yun pong government. Okay, next slide please. Okay, ito pong fiber optic footprint, kahit po medyo maganda na, mas marami pa po sana to dahil po nagkakaproblema nga po sila sa right of way at saka numerous permitting and process red tape po. Okay, next slide please. Sa third telco update po ito, I think dito is on track sa kanila pong commercial rollout on March of 2020 and 2021, and mali po yan, that's 2021. And by January po, January 7 ay magkakaroon na po ng audit sa kanila. Actually, that was supposed to be July, kaya lang po ay they asked for an extension because hindi po sila nakapagtrabaho from very limited po yung kanilang trabaho nung March, April, and May because of the lockdowns. Next slide please. So ito po ang kanilang timeline. January 8 is the technical test audit. Meron na pong napili na auditor. So magsa-start po yan. Malalaman po natin kung naabot nila ang kanilang mga promiso at mache-check po natin yan, Your Honors. We will provide the Public Service Committee with copies of those tests. Now, next slide please. Ito naman po, Your Honors, mga ano lang naman po, mga konting hiling at tulong kung maaari. Yun po sanang, kung mapapansin po ninyo, sinabi ko kanina, ang na-approve po ng NEP sa DICT ay 900 million pesos, almost 1 billion pesos. Ang hinihingi po nila para sa National Broadband is 12B. So malayo pa rin yun sa ginagawa po sa ibang bansa, but pwede na rin daw po yun, mapapasimulan na nila. But so far po, ang nasa NEP is 900M only. Actually, Your Honors, ito po, I think nasa Senate na rin po ata ito. Marami po sa ating gustong pumasok na investors. But whenever they hear that it would be a 60-40 Filipino, in favor of the Filipino arrangement, ay umaatras po sila. Dahil alam po nila, magagastos sila ng malaki, but the ownership ay 60% Filipino ownership po. Okay, isa po nagiging problema rin namin ay yung pong mga buildings na tinatayo, maybe Attorney Tamano can attest to this and General Santiago, ay hindi po telco ready. Sila pa po ang maglalagay sa loob ng mga gamit. In other countries po, ang National Building Code ay kasama na po yan. Dapat po ay telco ready po ang mga buildings. Number 4, right now po ay binabago po magkakaroon po ng batas na sinimula na po sa House na in villages po ay magkakaroon po ng utility areas para po from the time that you will buy your property or your lot in a village, alam mo na kung nasan agad yung utility area para makapaglagay ng telco infra. Ito po, increased penalty that NTC can impose. As alam niyo naman po yan, Your Honors, as of today, it's 200 pesos per violation per day based on the 1936 Public Service Act. Based on computation, parang at present, the value of 200 pesos ngayon is around 1.5 to 2 million pesos. At saka po itong pending din po ito sa Congress, sa Senate, yun pong open access bill. Your Honors, dyan po nagtatapos. Meron lang po kasi akong babanggitin din sana. Ang moving forward, ang nakikita po namin na magandang mangyayari. Next year ay papasok po si Dito Telecoms and they're very aggressive. Kaya po medyo mapapalaban po itong dalawang incumbents natin and that is the best whip, that is the best stick for them. Kaya po sila gumagastos sa capital expenditure. They are feeling that Dito is really a threat. And hindi lang po yun, Converge is also a threat right now. It's being felt. At saka po meron pang Red broadband na papasok din. It's owned by Meralco. So, papasok po sa market, sa merkado natin yun. Kaya po we expect intense competition starting 2021 and hopefully yun po ang magpapaganda pa at magpapabilis ng ating service. At syempre po kung maaari pong madagdagan po ang budget ng DICT para po sa national broadband. Yun lang po, Your Honors. Maraming salamat po for giving us this chance to present. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Cordova. Before we entertain questions from our dear colleagues, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Pangilinan, Senator Bato de la Rosa, and Senator Tolentino, and just an update on the mention of the budget of the DICT for the national broadband. I'm happy to announce that with the help of my fellow senators, we pushed for an increase in the budget allocation for the national broadband because the NEP only gave about 900 million, which is actually quite laughable, considering what they were requesting was 20 billion, not just 10 to 12 billion. So now we increased that to at least 5.9 billion. And this is, of course, the first phase. Part of the reason also that we didn't go all out immediately is there's also the absorptive capacity of the DICT. So we are moving forward in this. At least the Senate increased the budget for the national broadband. Another thing is, I would also like to say that with the one, you mentioned something about the 200 pesos per day violation.
Yes, sir.
And you were saying that 1.5 to 2 million pesos is what being enforced now, or we need the law to be able to reach that?
Your Honors, ano po, thank you for that question. Actually, we need a law po to increase the penalty because it's a penal clause. The law has to be amended, Your Honors. Okay,
thank you. That's noted. I have several more questions, but I'll allow our colleagues to go first. But I think let me, by order of arrival, Senator Marcos initially was raising her hand. And then, if I'm not mistaken, is it Senator Zubiri next, who also indicated, no. Yes, it's Senator Marcos first, then Senator Zubiri, Senator Hontiveros, and then Senator Go has a short manifestation. And then I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Recto. He arrived 8th. Okay. Go ahead, Senator Marcos.
Madam Chairperson, we will also raise questions.
Senator Pangilinan, is that you?
Yes.
Okay, that's noted. I think you're probably third.
Thank you.
Senator Marcos. Senator Marcos. Senator Zubiri, go ahead first.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Of course, a pleasant good morning to all from all the applicants as well as all my colleagues. And my question is to the NTC, to my dear friend, my good friend Liel, Commissioner Liel. Paano nakatulong, Commissioner, yung ating ease of doing business? We actually carved out a special provision. I was the sponsor of that and
Yes.
principal author of that measure. We carved out a special provision there, a whole section on applications on local government units for
Yes.
telcos and telco towers, particularly also to the homeowners, no, homeowners association. So, and then recently, in this Congress, that was in the 17th Congress where we passed that. In this Congress, Commissioner, we acted quickly on the request of the President to pass an emergency powers on anti-red tape. Ito po ay over and above yung ease of doing business para mapaikli pa ang requirements or pwedeng tanggalin ang ibang requirements. I believe NTC is actually the implementer, one of the implementers of these two laws. Could you give us a bit of a feedback on or a quick report, kasi maraming gusto magtanong, on these two measures para mapabilis din, hindi para sa isang telco to, para sa lahat ng telcos, I believe, no, and all applicants for even for internet rollouts. So may we recognize the Commissioner, Madam Chair, if it's all right.
Yes, Senator Subiri, Madam Chair. Actually po, I think, Your Honors, that was the jump-off point of Joint Memorandum Circular number 1. Yun po ang naging jump-off point nila, kaya po meron ng Joint Memorandum Circular number 1 para po pabilisin ito. So because of that po ay gumanda po ang takbo. So thank you for your help on that item po, no. Actually po ang ginawa po kasi doon, ang una-una is yung towers. We want po sana na isama rin ang fiber optic because it's equally important. So Your Honors, because of that, the law is of doing business at saka po yung sa ARTA, and actually ARTA po ang kanilang parang whip ngayon. Kapag tinatawagan po sila ARTA, medyo bumibilis po sila, tatatakot sila dahil meron po siyang penal clause, Your Honors. So because of that law that you passed, mapansin po ninyo, that's a 600% increase from 2019 to 2020 po. And yung 2020 po na yun, may pandemic pa po tayo. So ibig po sabihin, the law that you crafted, passed, and which the President signed ay malaking bagay po. Thank you for that, Your Honors.
Commissioner, just a quick follow-up. Try to get a copy. I'll try to ask the COMSEC of the committee to give you a copy of the emergency powers on anti-red tape na binigay natin kay Presidente. It's to further streamline the process. So,
Yes.
we gave that to the President, that power to the President on during times of emergency, and he extended the state of emergency till I believe next year, if I'm not mistaken, September next year, if I'm not mistaken, no? 2021. So you have this period wherein you can actually even lessen, no, the requirements or propose the lessening of requirements of even LGUs and homeowners. So pwede mo pang dagdagan yan, Commissioner. Maybe you can recommend that to the next joint meeting with the other departments and with the Office of the President. Kasi, of course, the President has to sign that off, but you have to
Yes.
give the recommendations.
Opo.
Kasi kung meron pang mga... Ang nagpapatagal kasi dyan, Commissioner, under our law, we gave local government units between 3 days to 7 days, di ba, for acting on a permit. And then even national government agencies is 20 working days. So, ang alam ko, nahihirapan ang mga players natin, all these telco players, pagdating sa local government unit. Kasi ang ginagawa nila ay, ang rason nila, ang pag-meeting daw ng Sangguniang Barangay, matagal. Ang pag-meeting ng Sangguniang Bayan, matagal. But we all know that's an avenue for possible corruption, that's an avenue for possible harassment, etc., etc. So, you can actually come up with a recommendation how to particularly speed up that process, or even in a way, remove that process altogether and ask the mayor and the vice mayor to certify or to come up with the ruling, no? Hindi naman natin sinasabi na lahat yes, kasi 'di ba may mga applications naman na hindi naman dapat pwede. environmental concerns, etc., safety of the people. But maybe you can recommend to the Office of the President, Attorney, ang bagong recommendations para mapaiklian pa natin. As you said, no, para we can even increase the number of towers by tenfold. And this is not only good for Dito, it's also good for Smart, it's also good for Globe and for all the players. Yun ang suggestion ko, Attorney. And kasi kakapasa lang natin yan. We only passed it about before the break. So you're looking at maybe 2 months ago. I'm not sure if the President has signed it na, but magandang handa na tayo, proactive na tayo on our recommendations para mapaiklian pa yung application periods, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Salamat.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. We note your suggestion po. Actually po, Your Honors, tama po kayo. The longest permit or approval to get is the Sangguniang Bayan. Tama po kayo. So doon po sila nahihirapan. It takes 3 to 6 months po to get that approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I think later on, we will continue to entertain questions, but later on, I would like to have also the comments of Engineer Gala regarding the assessment of NTC, because at least Engineer Gala is more of an independent analyst with regards to our telco situation. But in the meantime, well, Senator Amy should have been the next one again, but now let me ask.
Madam Chair, question lang, Madam Chair. So the questions that we can ask now are for everyone, not just for the NTC. I was only going to propose a question to NTC. So if we're going to ask questions on the other telcos, we just wait in line again, or should we ask them?
You know, since we've already had the presentation for Dito, go ahead and ask the questions for them. But I would like to defer first instant data, because they haven't really had the proper presentation, and their owner or chairman hasn't been online yet. So let's defer the questions for instant data and go ahead with Dito and NTC. So
is it all right if I ask them 1 or 2 questions lang, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead before we go to Senator Marcos and Senator Risa.
Yes, I'd like to ask these questions to Dito. What is the commitment, Attorney Adele? It's good to see you, my dear friend, my fellow Mindanaoan, Akong Silingan from Lanao Sur, a very reputable and distinguished family there. Adele, what is, ano ba kayo, Lanao Sur or Sulu? I might make a mistake.
So, Lanao Sur.
Lanao Sur.
Marawi po.
Tama. So, my question is, what is your commitment, Adele, on the rollout? How quickly can you roll out all your towers and your what is your target base of or number of people that you want to be enrolled in Dito Telecom to be able to make an impact on the telecom industry? Adele.
Thank you for the question, Your Honor. Our government commitments are as follows. We have in terms of speed and coverage. In terms of coverage, Your Honor, for the first year, it's 37%. For the second year, it's around 50%. For the third year, it's around 70%. And the last year is 84%. But to be very honest, Your Honors, and our Chief Technology Officer is here, we actually aim to, this is being very transparent, we actually aim to hit those milestones actually in advance. And we are hoping that, for example, our final year, we only are hoping to hit about 85% coverage, but we actually are aiming for more than 90% coverage for our final year. So when it comes to our government commitments, Your Honors, as we have said, it's very ambitious. Now, in terms of how many subscribers we will be hitting, that really depends on the market, and that really depends on how the public will be reacting to our offers. Our commitment from the onset, Your Honors, was really to bring competition to the market, and we will be offering our services at a reasonable rate. I cannot give you the rates right now, but suffice it to say that we will really come to the market with an attempt to get that market share I don't know, Major General Santiago, is there something you
Then maybe
add?
I can add just a follow-up question to that. What will make you stand out? We have already Globe, we have already Smart. Their prices are pretty much the same. They have the same packages. What will make you stand out that you feel that people will actually um, um, go towards Dito Telco for for your clientele. So you have something there that you want to present. For example, are you going to give cheaper rates? Because to be honest about it, if the rates are all the same, there's really not much of a competition. Diba? It's sort of like
Yes, Your
fuel
Honor.
prices. When you go to the big
Yes.
three gas stations, it's all the same prices. No? And, magkakaliit-liit lang ng diferensya. Pero what is there that you want to present to the people that will make a difference, no, among the competitors now? What will make
Thank
the
you.
difference?
Thank you, Your Honor. I will defer to Major Santiago on this, but allow me to say what we will be offering is what we call a leapfrog technology, something that both Globe and Smart are not offering. We will offer a pure or standalone 5G technology. The market will feel that sometime in 2021 or 2022. And this will really be, if we're talking now about 27 Mbps, which is our first year commitment, and 55 Mbps, which is our second year commitment. The 5G technology, General Santiago, we're talking here about not in Mbps, Your Honors. We're talking here in terms of gigabytes. And we have had already, as of now, our 5G calls, and they're very clear. The quality, it will truly be something different. And that's why, unlike when you offer fuel, the different fuel companies essentially offer the same thing. We are offering something that the market has never seen yet in the country, Your Honors. And that's why we are quite confident that once the people try our service, we are quite confident that they will prefer Dito over the other competitors. May I allow, with your permission, Your Honors, maybe General Santiago would like to give a few comments as well?
Go ahead, General Santiago.
Good morning, Madam Chair and the senators present. Dito would have no legacy system po. If you are going to compare this previously, when the telecommunications industry transitioned from analog to digital, it really is a leapfrog in terms of capabilities. So we're doing that. For example, we don't have any 2G and 3G voice traffic already. We're going straight to voice over LTE. You will note that the incumbents have told the public that they are now implementing a VoLTE rollout in their networks. And we're starting with VoLTE. Our basic network coverage will all be VoLTE, and that will be complemented by Attorney Adele called it pure 5G, because we know that this is the real 5G. This is the standalone 5G that will drive our network speed by more than 1,000 Mbps. And the other, I think, crucial about our implementation is our very, very high level of automation. Yeah. We are so automated that we can manage and operate our network with very minimal personnel, and that will drive down our operating expense. That will turn that into cheaper and more affordable rates to the public. Thank you, sir.
So yung technology ninyo, Attorney Tamano and General, is parang Voltes 5G. Voltes 5G, ha? Hindi lang Volt 5G, Voltes 5G. Very good. So what you're trying to tell the committee is, if you are given a franchise to operate, natatawa si chairperson. Pareho kami nanonood ng Voltes 5 nung bata kami. But what you're trying to tell this committee is that you're committed to give more affordable rates,
Yes, Your Honor.
quicker internet speed over LTE or access, and better signal service. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Yes, Your
Better,
Honor.
hopefully, than what is already existing. Because you're going to have to repackage yourself as better than the rest, or else there will be no impact. So that's good news, and we're hopeful. We need that. Being from Mindanao, we need that because I hope you roll out more towers in Bukidnon, because I call that the twilight zone. Whenever I go into Bukidnon, I have no more signals, only in the towns. And then that's why I had to relocate here in Cagayan de Oro so that at least my children can go to school properly. Yeah, so we're excited for competition that can give us more affordable services, as well as quick internet access and accessibility to these sites, to the cell sites, connectability. That's the most important. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our Senate President, Senator Tito Soto. Thank you for your presence here this morning, sir. Next in line.
Yes.
Next in line, actually, Senator Marcos. Finally, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, sorry. Sabay-sabay po kasi kayo eh. Oo, thank you. I'm finally here.
Sino kasabay namin, Senator Marcos?
Ang dami yung 10 o'clock si Senator Ping sa Pension for Defense. Tapos meron ring labor ngayon. So sorry, I've been flipping back and forth. But having said that, unang-una, I keep hearing about complaints about the LGU. If truth be told, I would also like to be the voice of the LGU and say that in most cases, incomplete ang mga submission ng telco. Taging kasalanan ng LGU sa amin noon sa Ilocos, incomplete and in violation yung telco. Hanggang ngayon, meron pa rin kaming tower na kasalpak dito sa Paway Church. Piko na kami talaga sa kanila. Sa totoo lang. Ikalawa, ang ating mga telco, lagi namang gusto magsiksikan diyan sa mga poblacion area. They really refuse to go to areas that are, if we'd like to say, mga missionary areas. So this is really a concern for all of us. And I think in many cases we should also try to consider that it's not always the LGU's fault. Yun lang ang gusto kong sabihin. Tapos yung isa pang issue, what was the inspiration, as it were, of the 60-40 that you're requesting from Congress? You want a reevaluation of the 60-40 foreign ownership. Are you thinking of a constitutional requirement or something along the lines of the mining law? Madam Chair, anyone who has ideas about this, we would like to hear them.
I think I see the hand of NTC Cordova. Go ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your observations po. Tungkol po dun sa 60-40, actually, it doesn't have to be an amendment of the Constitution. It can be an amendment of the law. Ang sabi po kasi sa Constitution, yung pong public utilities should be 60-40. But the Constitution did not define what a public utility is. So ang nag-define po is the Public Service Act. And dun po sa mga enumerations doon, pwede pong ilabas ang telcos, Your Honors. I think meron na po atang pending bill sa House po on that item. I think it was also brought up to the Senate, but we don't know the status po right now. Kasi po,
if I may,
Yes.
NTC Cordova,
Yes.
Commissioner. Actually, that is in our committee here, Public Services, and I think also in Economic Affairs, you have also the foreign.
Yes, the Foreign Investment Act. The
Foreign
FIPA.
Investment Act. On the other hand, this is the issue. We were really all set to amend that, but with the current issues of certain countries having special interests in the Philippines, I think we have to be very careful about the safeguards that they don't take over things of very sensitive national security aspects. and that would include telecommunications. But we are for liberalization, but at the same time, we are also for the protection of our sovereignty and national security. Kaya alam naman natin may isang bansa na talagang may interes sa ating mga teritoryo at may mga kasamahan ako, naiintindihan ko ang kanilang pag-aalinlangan sa panahon na ito. Yun lang.
Yes, well taken po, Madam Chair. At tama po, there are security and privacy considerations that are involved. But certainly, the reevaluation of the 60/40 ruling in the Public Utilities Act is something that should be studied given the highly capitalized, front-loaded nature of telco. There is simply too much engineering involved, such that Filipinos, in all likelihood, without partners from overseas, would be unable to make the adequate investment. I think I have a third question. If it has been explored at all, my good majority leader mentioned 5G. And we are all aware that Vietnam has become a leader in telco here in the ASEAN region. And while they were delayed in the rollout of their 4G, they went way past everyone else with 5G, largely on account of telco eco zones. Largely because of foreign investors who set up shop in Vietnam, giving tremendous incentives, encouragement, and other benefits. So is this something that we can consider under the ICT, despite, of course, the limitations recently imposed through the CREATE Bill on foreign investment? Meron ba tayong talks tungkol sa foreign eco zones? Para hindi lang sila hahawak ng ating telco operation, kundi magtatatag pa sila ng mga pabrika, magbibigay ng trabaho at i-upgrade yung sistema sa 5G. Kasi yan ang ginagawa sa Vietnam. Is that something that we can consider? Perhaps somebody from the ICT or NTC? Siguro pwede rin natin pag-usapan yan, Madam Chair, kasi malaking bagay yung telecoms eco zones. These are corridors that have been established in Vietnam solely for the manufacture of telco equipment. And it's really ratcheted up their ICT performance to 5G almost overnight.
I'm sorry, who are you referring your question to, Senator Marcos?
Yes, I wanted to ask the ICT if they had something in the offing, if there were any offers at all, given the aggressive expansion of 5G in Vietnam through telco eco zones. Baka naman makadali tayo ng 1 or 2, puros Vietnam na lang ang pinuntahan eh.
DICT, are you present?
Yes, Madam Chair, good morning.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, the DICT at the
Please
moment.
identify yourself. Some of us can't see you on the screen because of the many number of participants.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm Attorney Omar Sana. I'm with the Legislative Liaison Division of the DICT.
Okay. Mr. Sana, hold on just 1 second. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed Minority Leader, Senator Frank Drilon. Thank you, sir, for your presence this morning. Go ahead, Mr. Sana.
Madam Chair, to answer the question of the Senator Aimee, we are not aware, Madam Chair, right now of any initiative towards eco zones focused on the manufacture of telecoms equipment. However, if such an initiative were to happen, we would gladly support it, Madam Chair.
Yes, perhaps we should tell the ICT to be a bit more aggressive with their marketing, given that we are so far behind. That really is the only other option as I see it right now, given the financial constraints of the government and the fallout of the pandemic. Maliban sa pagdadagdag ng pondo sa budget na nakita naman natin talagang hirap, sana i-market rin natin sa abroad. Iintay sa DICT, kundi lumabas tayo at maghanap ng mga investor, makakapagbigay hindi lamang ng mas maayos na internet, kundi higit sa lahat, may trabaho pa at investment. Thank you, Madam Chair. That'll be all.
Thank you, Senator Marcos. I'd like now to ask Senator Hontiveros if you're ready with your questions, ma'am.
Yes, Madam Chair. Salamat
Go
po.
ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. Speaking of the special interests of other countries that the Chair mentioned earlier, and I'd like to thank the good Chair for her understanding. I'll go first to cybersecurity risks from state actors. These are questions for the ICT or DND. The internet now enables a wide range of functions vital to society and the economy: energy, transport, banking, health, the industrial control systems. Democratic and administrative processes such as regulation and elections are also expected to rely more and more on digital infrastructure. But I'd like to ask our resource persons, what is your assessment of the threats to our internet infrastructure posed by states or by state-backed actors? What states, particularly potential adversaries or rivals, maybe interests in the Philippines, what states have the capacity to mount these types of cyber attacks? Madam Chair, will it be the NSC to reply?
Yes,
see.
why don't we ask
Thank you.
Secretary Esperon, maybe? Secretary Esperon, in response to the question of Senator Hontiveros.
Good morning,
Cyber attacks.
I hope you hear me.
Yes,
Good
sir.
morning, Madam Chair, and the Senate President and other senators who are present in this hearing. May I inform the committee that I was actually a member of the Oversight Committee that formulated the Memorandum Circular number 0909-2018, which actually served as the rules by which the DTOC Telecommunity was eventually granted the opportunity and privilege to improve telecommunications services throughout the country. There were 4 members of us.
Mr. Secretary and Madam Chair, if I may, I'm not yet asking a particular question about DITO, but I'd really appreciate if the Secretary could shed light if the memorandum already included that threat assessment to our internet infrastructure by states or state-backed actors. And if the good Secretary could identify to the committee, which are these?
We are aware of the possible threats. We know that in cyberspace, there are third country operators or unknown hackers who could always disturb our systems. And so it is for that reason that I saw to it that a clause was included in the NTC memorandum. We know that there will always be some third parties that would be interested in our telecommunication systems, and it is incumbent upon us to also be on guard against this. So we prescribe this as the co-chairman of the National Cybersecurity Interagency Committee, or NSIAC. We have already formed technical working groups for telco, for the national ID system, as well as for the NGCP. And we might even have to come up with other technical working groups in the name of cybersecurity.
Yes, good Secretary. And speaking particularly of the telcos and what the Secretary mentioned about hackers and technical working groups, are you tracking the activities of state-sponsored hacking groups targeting the Philippines? For example, those sponsored by the Chinese government.
We are not just targeting those sponsored by Chinese, but in general, we are doing that. When the administration came in, when the arbitral award came out, there were a lot of hackings that we experienced. Many government offices were hacked, and we could only pinpoint the sources of this. It may not necessarily be China, but they could be located in other countries. That is the kind of threat that we face in cybersecurity.
Yes,
And so today, we even have our cybersecurity group in the armed forces, while we have this National Cybersecurity Interagency Committee, chaired by the Executive Secretary and co-chaired by Secretary Hunasan as the ICT and me as National Security Advisor.
In a bit, Secretary, I'll also have some follow-up questions about the armed forces. But for now, just in connection with the previous question, is the good Secretary aware that a China-based hacking group, codenamed Nikon, Naikon, has been quietly carrying out a 5-year cyber espionage campaign against Asia-Pacific governments, including Australia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Myanmar, and Brunei?
Wikipedia. Well, yes, Madam Chair, we are aware. I'm not. I do not know the particular name, but we should take lessons from Mr. Snowden, Wikipedia. We know that many states or third party or their proxies or even terrorists have the capability to do that. That is why it is really very important that cybersecurity should now be a practice, a policy, and something that we should all be doing in all government agencies as well as in private corporations.
Exactly, Secretary. So are you also tracking
I'm sure of that.
Nikon
We
group?
should be doing that.
Yes, sir. Are you doing it? Are you, as far as
Wala.
Nikon is concerned, are you monitoring?
I cannot hear the Senator Hontiveros, Madam Chair.
Can the good Secretary hear me?
I think it's the connection of the Secretary because I can hear Senator Hontiveros loud and clear.
Thank you, Chair.
Please check
Wala.
your connection.
Sir, your battery 100%.
Secretary, can you hear me now?
Ito ba ang tinitira niya?
Sir,
Sabotage na yung connection ni Secretary
Baka yun yung
Esperon.
Nikon, Madam Chair.
It's always ironic, I mean, the ones that are actually important speaking at the time is the one that wouldn't have the connection. Secretary Esperon, I think a message is being sent out here.
Yeah, there is a group, Nikon, really, targets not only the Philippines,
Yes.
but has been reported to be targeting some companies in Australia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and others. There's really some kind of a cyber war that's ongoing. We do not know all the players, but it should be incumbent upon us to adopt cybersecurity measures.
Well,
Yes, Secretary.
I'm sorry
Yes, Madam.
if I may interject, Senator Hontiveros. So, Secretary
Yes, of
Esperon, there is the threat. If something happens, what is the mechanism we have in place? Who are the people in charge? I know the DACT is supposed to have also individuals assigned to keep track of possible national security threats. So please elaborate because we know that there's a threat, but how are we going to address it if it actually happens? Ano gagawin natin? Will we shut down the system for a few hours? How do we do it, sir?
At saka, Madam Chair, 5 taon na po itong cyber espionage campaign ng Nikon. So I think we need to hear more from NSC than general statements about cyber threats in general.
Oo nga eh.
It should be incumbent upon the companies to also employ their to comply with the national cybersecurity plan.
Secretary,
So
Yes,
parang
Chair.
iniiwan natin sa mga kumpanya na sila dapat ang
No,
maging
not only that. That's why we need to fund the DICT so that they could have an operations center for lawful intercepts.
So right now we don't have that.
Uh, we don't have that. We don't have that. That is why we need some funds for that, for the ICT. Lawful.
We do have funds for the DICT. In fact, we increased it. May I ask the DICT to comment? We will get back to you as Secretary Esperon. But we need to hear from the DICT. Di ba meron kayong cybersecurity group? Ang NBI meron din, pero I know it's poorly manned. There's not that many individuals assigned to that. So the DICT, can you speak with regards to national security?
Madam Chair, Attorney Omar Sana again, Madam Chair. We have a Cybersecurity Bureau, Madam Chair, which coordinates with the different government agencies as regards cybersecurity.
Is this under the DICT, Attorney Sana?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, give me an update on the Cybersecurity Bureau. How many people do you have there? What is your budget? Do you have a progress report?
Madam Chair, unfortunately, I am not aware of the details of the Cybersecurity Bureau. They are located in a different office from our central office.
Well, I tried to call them to appear in this hearing. This is the problem. We're talking about the franchise of Dito Telecommunications. One of the issues being brought forth, and I think fairly, is how do we protect ourselves knowing that a certain percentage of ownership is owned by a foreign national?
Thank you.
How can the government assure us that they've given a fair assessment of the safety to our sovereignty if we don't even have a proper cybersecurity group that does the assessment? So ibig sabihin, I mean, listening to Secretary Esperon, they're drafting this and that, but when it comes to the actual mechanism in place, should we have a threat, there's really no plan. So paano natin masasabi na safe tayo? Wala naman pala tayong masasandalan na mekanismo para malaman kung tayo ba ay ligtas o hindi. Anyway, go ahead, Senator Risa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could I also ask the DICT then, Attorney Sana, are you aware of at minomonitor na ba ng DICT itong 5 taon, no, kalahating dekada ng cyber espionage campaign ng NICON laban hindi lamang sa mga kumpanya na sinabi ni Sec Esperon pero laban sa mga Asia-Pacific governments?
Yes, Madam Chair. Again, personally, I'm not aware. I can contact our Cybersecurity Bureau and get back to you with the information, if you will allow us, Madam Chair.
Please do, kasi I would have expected that since it's a very disturbing phenomenon that's 5 years running, na medyo kahit hindi yung unit directly in charge of it sa DICT, medyo sa department level aware at alam. And since earlier, Attorney Sana, Sec Esperon, corporations, well, I am going to ask, since we are, as the chair said, talking about the franchise of Dito, so it's one of the corporations, concerned ko po talaga, among others dito sa Senado, na 40% nagpagmamayari ng Dito ay isang kumpanya which I believe is acting as a proxy of the Chinese government. Kung tama po yung teorya ko, Attorney Sana, by allowing a proxy of the Chinese government to set up a telecommunications network in the country, as well as facilities within our military bases. Sa tingin po ng DICT, wouldn't this be tantamount to letting state-sponsored hacking groups get one foot in the door?
Madam Chair, Madam Senator, I'm sorry, I'm not equipped with the facts po to be able to comment on that. Really, if you want, we can provide a detailed report on the matter. We'll ask our involved units po.
Please do, Attorney Sana. Madam Chair, there may be another resource person, whether that would be the DND or the NSC again, who would...
Actually, if I may suggest, Senator Hontiveros, perhaps we can have also an assessment from engineer Tito Gala with democracy.net. What his assessment is with regards to the progress report given by the NTC, but maybe Engineer Gala comment first on the issue at hand, which is the national security aspect of our telecommunications sector. If
Thank you.
would you be able to comment on that, Engineer Gala?
Uh, Madam Chair, thank you for having us. In 2019, the Department of Information and Communications Technology unveiled what is called the Cybersecurity Management System Project, which is supposed to be a security operations center. It was supposed to service 10 agencies initially: the DICT, the Office of the President, the Department of Finance, Department of Energy, Department of Foreign Affairs, National Security Council, Department of Budget and Management, Presidential Communications Operations Office, National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, and the Department of National Defense. But it seems that because of the lack of mention of this security operations center, maybe it's not running. Maybe it is an expensive paperweight that we thought of setting up, but we are not really operating it because we're not getting any reports. Supposedly, the international best practice of such security operations centers would be to publish monthly or annual reports on how many threats have they defeated. We don't even have to discuss who are these threats because there are technologies to mask where the threats come from. But we at least need to know how many threats have attempted to attack these, for example, initially these 10 agencies and perhaps other agencies as well.
Engineer, what is the name again of that group in 2019?
The Cybersecurity Management System Project.
Hindi ko man alam yan. May acronym ba yan? Is that the one that was mentioned by Secretary Esperon?
No, Madam Chair, it is not.
But it's a government initiative, right?
Yes, ma'am. It was.
Who is heading it? Do you know?
It used to be headed by Engineer Alan Cabanlong, who used to be the DICT Assistant Secretary for Cybersecurity and Enabling Technologies.
Engineer
Cabanlong.
Cabalyong.
But he is no longer with DICT, and I am not aware of who is the point person in charge of this, except to say that this project would have to fall underneath the Cybersecurity Bureau of the DICT.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir. There are more questions for the DICT later on then. Go ahead.
Just to wrap up, Madam Chair, in the cybersecurity industry, we know that it is inefficient to perform brute force attacks. Meaning, if you know that it's already protected, why will you attack that wall or that gate? Instead, you go through areas that are not yet protected, such as agencies that are not yet subscribed to this project, or even the connections of the LGUs. So suffice it to say that we might have a project because there has been such a report in the DICT through a press release in their own website, but we do not know if it's actually operating because we do not have any monthly, quarterly, or annual reports whether or not we are actually defeating any threats or that have been attacking these 10 agencies that have been enrolled. Just that for now, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Gala. Are you aware, is democracy.net.ph aware about this 5-year cyber espionage campaign?
Madam Chair, it's engineer, not attorney. I am not a lawyer.
Engineer Gala. Sorry. So are you aware of this hacking group codenamed Nikon that's been conducting cyber espionage against not just corporations but governments in the Asia-Pacific region?
Madam Chair, in fact, the Nikon group was identified not by governments, not by a government agency, but it was in fact identified by third-party commercial entities such as Trend Micro, Kaspersky, and such like that. These, the fact that they are commercial entities do not take away from their credibility. So this report is just merely one of the many reports about state-sponsored APTs, or active persistent threats, as they are called, meaning these are either states, nation states, non-nation state actors, including terrorists, who may have this capability. ISIS has been reported to have this kind of capability as well, although it has been limited by states such as the United Kingdom and the United States, who have their own cyber groups designed for this purpose. Just to wrap up, Madam Chair, there is a significant difference between what is called cybersecurity and cyber defense. In the Philippines, we talk a lot about cybersecurity, including how cybersecurity is folded into national security, but there has been no conversation much about the concept of cyber defense insofar as the Philippines is concerned. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Engineer Gala. That's very interesting. Wala pang conversation, let alone official conversation about...
I think what Engineer Gala is trying to say, wala tayong preventive, di ba? Dun pagdating sa defense.
May I volunteer, Madam Chair, may I volunteer that Secretary...
with the indulgence of Senator Hontiveros, may we allow Secretary Esperon to comment?
I say that the defense part of it, cyber defense, is actually being performed now, at least in the cyber group of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. So we have that standing unit now. Cyber group.
So, sir, in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, how many individuals are manning the cyber defense group?
There should be about, I would estimate there will be about 40, which is led by a Navy captain.
And do we have, do you remember what budget we have pending now for approval for that division?
They're asking for some equipment, but I think they did not get all of it. They're getting some of it. I understand the National Defense and Security Committee was trying to help them also with this.
Okay, can Secretary Esperon, may I ask for a report on the structure of the cyber defense unit of the military, and also a report on the 2019 cybersecurity group, of which I believe you may have been a member, or you are a member of?
I am, as I said, Madam Chair, the co-chairman of the National Cybersecurity Interagency Committee.
So may we ask for a report from you to be submitted to our committee, please? And then, Engineer Gala, would you like to interject? You have a quick comment on this before we continue with Senator Hontiveros.
Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair. I realize that this might not be the committee that should be discussing this. Perhaps it should be better moved to the National Defense Committee of the Senate. But there really is a distinct difference between cybersecurity and cyber defense. There are principles in cybersecurity that apply across the board, whether government, private sector, and the critical infrastructure that has been identified in the National Cybersecurity Plan. But I will point out that that is the National Cybersecurity Plan. When it comes to cyber defense, that's different. That's a doctrine reserved to the military and the national security apparatus of government, because not only is cyber defense about cyber, there is a kinetic aspect to that. And this, I'm sure the military, our military stakeholders know very well, but there hasn't been any public reports on what is the cyber defense posture. I will emphasize that cyber defense posture of the Philippines. That's it, Madam Chair. I hope that it will be discussed in the relevant committee.
Thank you for differentiating that and introducing us to that term, the kinetic aspect of it. So the movement aspect of it, if I'm not mistaken. Senator Risa, before I call on to Senator Pangilinan,
With the
would you like to
With the
continue?
permission of Senator Ontiveros, just a quick manifestation.
All right then, Madam Chair, and then I will come back.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator Pangilinan is recognized.
Yes, just a manifestation, Madam Chairperson. A lot of the issues being discussed have serious implications in terms of national security. Perhaps the chair may consider at some point calling on a executive session so that we can discuss very sensitive national security issues, and we will be able to discuss freely. A case in point, Madam Chairperson, is that the United States Department of Defense in June 2020 released a list of 20 Chinese companies that have direct links to the People's Liberation Army. And one of those 20 is China Telco. And so that is my manifestation. It may we request perhaps to consider at some point that we have an executive session to discuss the very sensitive national security issues surrounding these latest developments and the approval of this franchise, Madam Chairperson.
Yes, the suggestion of Senator Pangilinan is noted, and I think, yes, eventually we will call for an executive session. But I would also like to remind our guests today that whatever company is set up in China, they have an obligation to their national government to report any information that the national government will request from them. So, in short, meron silang pananagutan na ibigay lahat ng meron silang impormasyon tungkol sa kanilang mga transaksyon. So kung anong narinig nila dito, pwede nilang ay dapat nilang i-report doon sa kanilang gobyerno. Anyway, that's moving forward. Later on, we are going to do a checklist of the accomplishments of Telecommunications because the national security issue is another issue with the government, and perhaps we can deal with that extensively in another hearing.
Thank you, Senator.
Yes, thank you, Senator Pangilinan. Senator Ontiveros, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Katabi nung pagdi-differentiate ni Engineer Gala sa cybersecurity at cyber defense, at katabi nung word of caution ni Senator Kiko, gusto kong sabihin in relation especially dun sa huling observation ni Engineer Gala, precisely dahil pinag-uusapan natin ang cybersecurity pa lamang in relation dito sa franchise ng dito, pero may aspect ng cyber defense na mukhang baka mahina or pinanghihina nito. So it actually undermines the cybersecurity and also the cyber defense of our country. And possibly, ito yung punto ko, through dito, or more particularly through Chinatel na binanggit din ni Senator Kiko. A last question, Madam Chair, for Sec Esperon at this point in time, dahil hindi po nasagot ito ng DICT kanina. Sec, binabanggit nyo kanina yung mga korporasyon, and the one that we're focusing on right now for its franchise is dito. By allowing a proxy of the Chinese government, na yun po yung teorya ko sa Chinatel, by allowing it to set up a telecommunications network in the country, as well as facilities within our military bases, hindi ba ito katumbas ito na pagpapayag sa mga state-sponsored hacking groups na magkaroon ng isang foot in the door dito sa Pilipinas?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. If we talk about proxy of China, and if we are referring to foreigners who are in our telco companies, let us be aware that Globe is not 100% Filipino company. Globe has Singtel as a partner, Singapore. Smart has another foreign partner, which is Indonesian. Of course, Dito, as we know, has a Chinese partner. But all three companies are in extensive use of Huawei, which is a very hot subject of the trade war or economic war between the United States and China. But let me just say that equipment are another thing, intent is another thing, and protective capabilities are another thing. That is why we have cyber security. Cyber defense is also another thing, and that is why we don't talk about it in the open, because a lot of these things are classified. So there are many instances where we may not talk about them openly, and I am glad that Senator Pangilinan has suggested that we go on executive session. But this time, I think it is in the Senate rules that since this is security, I think not the other committees might have to be involved.
All right, Secretary, let's talk about intent then. Let's talk about intent of China, China
As I said,
during executive.
Yeah, with due respect, Senator Hontiveros, I really appreciate your raising the issue of national security, which is paramount. I can see Engineer Gala sort of disapproving with his facial reaction on the comments of General Esperon, Secretary Esperon. The thing is, let's try to wrap up, not wrap up, but we have to go to the other submissions and other requirements being asked of the telco applicants. We should have definitely another meeting, hearing on the national security aspect. But Engineer Gala, when Secretary Esperon mentioned something that this is something that cannot be explained publicly, I think you and I, if I have your opinion the same, if I interpret it right, would expect at least a minimum discussion on the general makeup of the cybersecurity plan. So, what was your comment, Engineer Gala? Did you have something to add?
Just clarify.
That is correct, Madam Chair. At the very minimum, we don't want to discuss operations. Operations must be discussed in executive session by trusted individuals of the Senate, of the national security apparatus of the country. They should not, the details of operations, if at all possible, must be kept as part of the national security secrets of the country. That being said, there is no publication by the Department of National Defense nor of the AFP with regard to what is our cyber defense doctrine. That's where it all begins. What is the doctrine with regard to cyber defense? We have one for air, we have one for land, we have one for sea. We used to have one for space. The fifth domain of warfare, being cyber, does not yet have an official published doctrine by the DND, only that it is part of something that we should defend. That's the one-liner mostly that is being discussed, but it's being folded into cybersecurity, which is not supposed to be the case because cybersecurity in the main is something that protects individuals, people who use ATMs, people who want their personal identifiable information protected, which is why we have a National Privacy Commission. But cyber defense is something different entirely. It involves not just the interception of messages, the use of espionage over cyber means. It also involves the movement of troops if they need to, for example, take out a cyber terrorist. This is what it means. And based on the bare minimum, as you said, Madam Chair, there has been no publication of what is the Philippines doctrine. That should have been the minimum, but it's not there yet.
Thank you.
In defense of the DND, the DICT, and the NEC, medyo bago kasi. Malamang inaaral pa. But we have to move faster. We need to establish the doctrine very quickly so that we will have interoperability over all our forces and our national security apparatus. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Engineer Gala. Secretary Esperon, would you want to have a quick comment before we go back to Senator Ontiveros? Sir, your speaker is your volume.
Indeed, I'm very glad that Mr. Gala is coming out with this. But you know, communication security or CGEN, signal intelligence had long been with the armed forces, and this was all the start of this all. So we have a lot of people who have been into this. It's just that we don't discuss this openly. Operations especially now that terrorism has come to us. So there are operational matters that we cannot discuss openly. There we will have, of course, manuals later on. In the same manner that, do you know that the national security policy was published only in 2016 for the first time, and the national security uh, strategy was published only in 2017. We are doing this for the first time. We are coming up with all these things because there are a lot of things that we have to share also with the public. It used to be, uh, if you hear something, just leave it when you leave. Now it's different. We have to share a lot of information in this age of the fourth industrial revolution. So
Okay.
bear with us. We are willing to share it with you, especially with your committees, because in the end, this will serve us better if we know it. Especially that we also need to spend for our cybersecurity and our cyber defense. Look at the figures that had been shown by Commissioner Cordova. All the other countries are spending so much on it, and here we are. We have a DICT that could only be given. I do not know what you have given the ICT, but I think it's only 5 billion. That is a lot less than what is required for cybersecurity. Much more for protecting our databases.
Okay. Thank you, Secretary Esperon. Yes, we will look forward to a more extensive discussion on national security, perhaps partly as an executive session, and then later on we can present to the public at least the bare minimum of our cyber defense strategy. All right, Secretary Montiveros, and then later on we will have a short manifestation from Senator Bongo. Senator Montiveros, can we wrap up a bit on the national security? And if you have other questions, ma'am.
Will do. Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 points and then i-enumerate ko yung mga tanong ko pa sana for the next round. One, kay Secretary Esperon, hindi po parallel yung mga halimbawa ng Globe at Singtel at saka ng Smart at yung Indonesian investors nila dito sa kaso ngayon ng franchise ng dito na may Chinatel na 40% owner niya, because neither Singapore nor Indonesia have similar intelligence and espionage laws tulad ng China, which, as the chair also mentioned, requires its nationals and its companies working abroad to collaborate on intelligence on their home countries. At ang Singapore at Indonesia ay hindi rin halimbawa nasa national grid natin at hindi rin natin katapat sa West Philippine Sea. Secondly, Madam Chair, napaka-importante nung isang sinabi ni Engineer Gala na kailangan natin at wala pa tayong cybersecurity doctrine. So all the more, dapat itong pagbubuo ng cybersecurity doctrine ay hindi nauunahan ng isang Chinese government or yung Chinatel sa loob ng isang franchise ng dito kapag unresolved pa yung mga important issues being raised, not just about cybersecurity, but indeed about cyber defense. And lastly, for this round, Madam Chair, i-put on record ko lang yung mga tanong ko for the next round. They would have to do with Chinese information warfare strategy as it, I think, potentially will affect us here in the Philippines through this franchise. Next, Madam Chair, questions on, well, cybersecurity risks in general. And then the last two questions on, more broadly, the recovery of unused frequencies. Tulad ng isang bill na nakahain ko, I'd like to seek the opinion of DICT on that. and then also the dispersal of ownership clause present here in the Dito franchise, but also present in other franchises. All for me for this first round, Madam Chair, at maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Senator Risa, if you can submit also to our committee a copy of your questions, and we will forward it to the pertinent departments so that if we have another, they can, number one, submit to you ahead of time the responses, and then you can have a follow-up in our next round, specifically on national security.
Will do
Now, may we ask if Senator Bongo is ready for his short manifestation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to express my full support to the grant of legislative franchise to Mindanao Islamic Telephone Company, or DITO Telecommunity. I know that DITO can be of great help in bolstering the telecommunications and internet services in the country, especially during these times when such services are needed more than ever. I, however, reiterate to the leadership of DITO to ensure that the grant of legislative franchise is not the end of its journey. Rather, it is only the beginning. I implore DITO to strive to meet its targets and fulfill its promises to the nation. Your franchise is not a right but a mere privilege, at malaki po ang tiwala namin dito sa Kongreso at ng lahat ng mga Pilipino na makakatulong kayo sa pag-unlad ng ating bayan. Yun lamang po, Madam Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Go. Kaisa niyo po kami sa ating mga nag-a-apply ng franchise na magkaroon ng mas maraming pagkakataon ng ating mga kababayan na mamili ng magbibigay ng tamang serbisyo sa kanila. Kaya gusto namin magtagumpay kayo. Pero bago nga natin ibigay ang isang prangkisa, nais natin malaman kung talagang meron ba kayong kapabilidad para gawin ito. So thank you, Senator Bongo. Do you have any questions, Senator Go? Okay. So support for Dito Communications is noted. Senator Pangilinan, you're next, sir.
Sorry, Madam Chairperson, I will raise my questions during the executive session because they are sensitive matters.
Okay, anybody else? Any other senators with regards to Dito Telco? Okay, then I guess I can ask my questions now. For Dito Telecommunications, you have a commitment. Okay. One minute suspension while I get my notes in the other table. Hold on just 1 second.
Madam Chairperson, Senator Kiko, I will just manifest some of the issues that I would like Dito to prepare for when we go through executive session. As you wait for
yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Senator Pangilinan.
Yes. The questions we'd like to raise would be considering the counter-espionage law of 2014 of the People's Republic of China and the Chinese National Intelligence Law of 2017, also of the People's Republic of China, which mandates, among others, the cooperation of citizens and organizations in intelligence gathering and data gathering, as well as reporting to the government, being mandated to report to government regarding espionage activities. How is DITO going to address this in terms of the security concerns of the country, given that China Telco precisely has a 40% stake in their company? And we have other questions, but we will raise that during the executive session, Madam Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Pangilinan. Okay, just to recap on the commitment of
Madam
DITO.
Chair, just so quickly to add to that.
Majority Leader, go ahead, please.
Maybe, but the problem with the executive session, with due respect to my colleagues, is baka mahak din yung ating online session. We may have to have, that's a possibility. Nandyan, we have engineers there for Democracy Net. I think baka mahak yun. I don't know if any and my Mr. General Esperon is there. I do not know of any platform that is not hackable at this point in time, whether it's Zoom or itong WebEx.
No
I think
barrier.
if we're going to call for we'll have to call for an offline, possibly safer face-to-face. Unfortunately, it's more dangerous because of the risk of the coronavirus. Uh, but I think that's the best option if you want to talk about state secrets, particularly issues on cybersecurity. Because precisely if we're going to do it online, I'm sure the cybersecurity experts of these countries are going to listen in for sure, 100%. So possibly siguro online, ano yan, offline, ma'am. Maybe we can schedule a date in the Senate and have it in the lounge. We just be careful, social distancing na lang, and then a nice lunch blow out by our chairperson.
I agree.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
No,
Sure, anytime. What lunch would you want? Let's make it plant-based. Democracy.net, Engineer Gala, you were raising your hand.
Madam Chair, I join the concerns of Senator Zubiri. Our perspective when it comes to cybersecurity and cyber defense is this. Unless the Philippines, AFP, DND, Senate, and other governmental apparatuses have their own dedicated and secure communications, then the only way we can be truly secure is through face-to-face meetings. All of our communications go over commercial off-the-shelf technology, and not just China, but also the United States and its allies through its Five Eyes and Nine Eyes campaigns firehose all the information that go through the internet, and they look for keywords, key phrases, and all that to see if there's anything of interest to them. So anything online that's of interest to anybody, whether they are friends of ours or rivals of ours, is not that safe. If you want to discuss state secrets, please do so in person. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Secretary Esperon, go ahead.
may I also join the manifestation of my Mr. Senator Miggs on the matter of conducting executive sessions online, especially so that, well, for one, Zoom is primarily owned by Chinese majority, but they are not citizens of China anymore. And if we continue to be very suspicious of Chinese, then we might as well go face to face on these things. I go with all the people who believe that the Chinese are all threat. Of course, we also get something from them. It's not.
Okay.
So I recommend that we adopt really a face-to-face session in regards to this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, well, it's quite telling if our Secretary Esperon himself is a little bit wary of an online meeting. But I think our majority leader just misses all of you and would like to have an excuse to meet personally. Anyway, okay, let me just be clear. Operate the issue of national security and the franchise of an applicant for telecommunications. On the other hand, Dito really has no control over the policies of government. So this is something that we need to be able to thresh out on our own, policymakers in the cabinet as well as the legislative branch. So let's go first through the checklist of Dito Telecommunications, what they promised, what is within their control. Okay, number one, and NTC, I want you to agree, and also our democracy.net. Okay, supposedly they claim that as of now or by January 21, they'll have 37% coverage. Okay, this is part of the agreement that they had. They will reach the minimum speed of 27 Mbps. Okay. Then what they also, with this, even if they weren't able to complete the number of cell towers initially forecasted, the completed 1,532 cell towers nationwide will be enough to meet the 37% coverage. So NTC, do you agree with these figures?
Yes, Your Honor, we agree with the figures that you mentioned.
Okay. Before I ask for the specific areas that will have coverage, because part of the agreement is to prioritize underserved and unserved areas, I would like to ask Democracy.net engineer Tito Galia, these claims of Dito Community, Telecommunity, when it comes to their accomplishment report, is this believable? Is this something you think they are able to substantiate?
Frankly speaking, Madam Chair, we don't know. Supposedly, the single source of truth would have been based on the terms of reference and the Form A submission, as your office is very well aware as you held hearings on this. That said, there was supposed to be the selection of an internal auditor after 1 month after the CPCN of Dito Telecommunity was granted last June 8, 2019. Making the deadline of the selection, it would have been 5 proposed by Dito, 3 shortlisted by the NTC, then 1 selected by Dito Telecommunity. There has been no report that last July 8 of 2019, there has been an independent auditor who was supposed to look at this. Number 2, the other single source of truth is the Form A submission of Dito Telecommunity. Now, if they submitted their Form A with the report on, yes, this barangay has connectivity, no, this barangay doesn't, then that would have sufficed already, and we would have ended our public hearing instantly because there is that sort of report. Instead, what we got was PR. We do not have a comparison of the Form A submitted during the third telco selection process with the Form A supposed to be audited last July 8. Now, the reason why we keep on talking about January 2021 is because the NTC granted a 6-month reprieve to Dito. NTC says that Dito requested it. Previous newspaper reports said that Dito Telecommunity did not request for this extension. So that's a question mark right there. Who granted the extension and why? And under what authority was this extension granted? Because the terms of reference do not provide anybody, particularly the NTC, the power to extend the periods already specified in the TOR. Was permission asked from the oversight committee of which Secretary Esperon was a member? Does he know that his authority would have been required for the NTC to make such an extension? Because
okay, I think I would like Engineer Gala. I think with this one issue that you raised, quite important, I'd like to ask the NTC if indeed Dito requested for a delay of their rollout. NTC?
Yes, Your Honor. We can submit the letter of Dito Telecoms to the NTC regarding that. It's because of the pandemic, Your Honors. Their deliveries of their equipment from abroad were delayed.
Okay, so you have that letter.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
We can submit it, Your Honors.
Dated when?
I just don't have the particulars right now, Your Honor.
Hopefully before the July deadline. Okay, so please submit it to our committee. We'd appreciate that, sir. Okay. Now, Engineer Gala mentioned something about an independent auditor. Who is our independent auditor on the deliveries and commitments of Dito Communications?
Your Honor, we were already able to choose one.
Ngayon pa lang?
Naka-choose na po, Your Honors. Na-send na po namin ang letter. Yeah.
Okay, sino? What company is that?
We'll get a copy, Your Honors.
Okay, please submit that to us also.
We'll also do that.
I believe assessment will be submitted in January, right?
Yes, yes. You're
Because
correct, Your Honor.
that's when we will do the first test before the commercial rollout in March. Am I correct?
That's correct, Your Honors. Because the first audit was supposed to be July, but because of the
Yes,
situation,
we've heard that countless times. So, okay, I just need the name of the auditor,
it's
the independent auditor, and I would like to acknowledge. I would like to hear the comments of Attorney Tamano. Go ahead,
it's
sir.
um
Thank you, Madam Chair, Your Honors. The auditor is RG Manabat. As correctly pointed out by Engineer Gala, there is a process in getting the independent auditor, which we went through, and the audit will happen in January 7th of 2021.
Who approved RG Manabat as the auditor?
It was under the NTC, Your Honors, but just to be very clear, in MC 0909-2018, which is the terms of reference of the bid, it lays there the provision and the procedure in the choice of the independent auditor, which we went through, Your Honors. Meaning we
Okay,
started with 5 and then it went down.
Democracy.net.
Yeah.
Oh, you were raising your hand, Engineer Gala. Very short. Your comment on that.
No, madam. It was just that they followed the process, so that's sufficient. The question is, why was there an extension, and under what authority when was the extension granted?
Your
Okay.
Honor, if I may.
Yes, Attorney Tamano again.
My apologies for cutting in. Just to be very clear, I think what we would like to emphasize is that under the law, there is a doctrine of fortuitous event. This is something that is in the new civil code, and it's deemed written to every contract that is entered into.
But I don't think there is one in your contract for COVID,
Yeah, well,
right? I don't. It's not included, right?
There is none, Your Honor, but as the doctrine is very clear, it is already deemed written into all contracts because it is a fact that things like COVID, these things will happen that are totally unexpected. These are called acts of God.
But okay, acts of God. I'm not sure. I don't recall it being in your contract.
Yes, Your Honor. Forgive
So
me for
you're
being
invoking a
unclear.
general principle.
General principle, but it is also as a matter of law, Your Honor. It is part of the new civil code, and it's written that it is deemed written into all contracts.
Okay. We will now. So basically right now we're going to await the submission of the independent auditor. But I would like to know because Attorney Tamano. We are happy about the optimistic report that you presented earlier. But you were saying people will feel the difference next year when you roll out, and sometime mid next year you can feel the difference of the speed, etc. Now, with your 37% coverage of the population, can you tell me what general areas will see a marked improvement following your commercial rollout in March of 2021? Anong mga areas ito na nalagyan nyo ng cell towers na magkakaroon na ng signal?
Your Honor, may we have our Chief Technology Officer speak on that?
Yes, please.
Sorry to. It is quite rational that when our commitments are time bound, we go through the most optimum way of meeting them. And since we're only given 1 year to be able to achieve the 37% population coverage, we prioritized areas that are more densely populated. So these are the urban centers nationwide, including Metro Manila, Cebu, and Davao. However, because of the impact of COVID in the early this year, we did some redirection of our priority areas where we can build, and so some of the areas that are not included in our priority were prioritized just so we can cover the 37% population coverage.
Okay, hold on. What you're saying is because of the pandemic, etc., you concentrated on urban areas. But that's not exactly what's in your franchise. Your priority should have been underserved and unserved areas. So, okay, fine. You included Metro Manila, which is also crucial, Davao and Cebu, but you have all players already set up there. Give me an area that is not served or is underserved that you actually did some sort of a rollout already.
Ma'am, I think we're looking at only the first year commitment of 37. We should look at it as a 5-year commitment of 84%. And in our calculations, 84% of the population, if we do that, we are covering already 91% of the geographic population. So we're
No.
only.
You're not answering my question. I understand you will reach the 37% coverage, but it's also part of your contract to set up in underserved and unserved areas. So I understand you start with the urban areas because it's easy given the situation of the pandemic. But at least give me one area. Sa Bukidnon ba naglagay kayo? Saan yung mga cell towers ninyo? Dun sa mga malalayong lugar?
Ang sabi ko nga po, ma'am, hindi natin ito dapat tignan na first year lang na 37%. We should look at it as a 5-year program of 84%.
Yes, but sir, in your commitment, you said that you will cover 37% of the population in the first year. I understand that you're not able to set up in all underserved and unserved areas, but at least you should be able to present to this committee a few that you've already started doing so that there's that interpretation of a goodwill on your part to be true to your commitment that you will prioritize underserved areas. So meron na ba?
Although I will argue that that is not in our CPCN, ma'am, that to serve unserved areas. Ang point ko lang po, ma'am.
Ganun ba? Ganun ba?
Yes.
Let me go back to that, ha? Kasi I know in your franchise agreement with us, part of it says that there should be in unserved and underserved areas. That's why we granted it to you. Because that's what we need.
Kaya nga po pinipilit kong explain that the 91% geographic coverage already covers the underserved and unserved areas. That is for 5 years.
So, okay. So what you're saying is in the first year, wala pa kayong napapatayuan na infrastruktura sa mga unserved or underserved areas. Pero sinasabi ninyo na makakarating na rin ang serbisyo sa at least 37% of the population. Ganun ba?
Opo, ma'am.
So 37% of the population in urban areas, again.
No. As I've said, ma'am, baligtad po yung pagkakasabi kanina na while we are prioritizing the urban centers because yung commitment namin is so time-bound, maikli, the impact of COVID has forced us to reprioritize some alternate areas so we can achieve the 37%, even if we cannot work in our original priority areas. So
okay, thank you. Engineer Gala, go ahead.
Sure, the question is simple. For year one, did they at least meet the minimum number of barangays listed in Form A that they will be present in year one? That's the only question. Anything above that will be appreciated and should be appreciated. But at the minimum, the list of barangays named in the Form A that will have coverage in year one should have coverage in year one. The answer of the good general of Dito Telecommunity that they are reprioritizing is not allowed for in terms of preference. The Form A is what they're supposed to conform with for year one, year two, year three, year four, and year five. That's supposed to be the rollout plan essentially that they submitted not just to the NTC, but to the committee as well. We know this. It is documented. The question...
Okay. Engineer, I have a question for you, Engineer Gala.
Yes, ma'am.
If we are to be technical about it, what it says in their agreement, 37% coverage, 27 Mbps, hindi naman kasi sinabi na first year, 37% coverage should include already all these server underserved areas. It just says that, I guess, in the whole plan, within the 5-year transition, they should be able to cover those served and underserved areas. Am I correct? Or what is your interpretation, Engineer Gala?
Ma'am, in their submission, with which they were selected as the new major player, they decided to go with the approach of prioritizing highly urbanized areas for purposes of high population density. This is not necessarily wrong. That's their business decision. So likely, the unserved and underserved areas, they pushed back to years 4 and 5. That's fine. That's a business decision on their part. The question remains is whether or not they are compliant with what they said would be the list of barangays that they would have coverage in year 1. But
so you're saying, Engineer Gala, they submitted a list of barangays?
Yes, ma'am. Form A, the Form A submission, it's with your office as well.
Form A, okay. So we will counter-check that Form A. But is this list of barangays, this is to be determined by the NTC, right?
No, ma'am. This is their commitment.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Now, if I go strictly on the franchise agreement, of course, we did not go specifically per barangay. We just said, this is the minimum, this is what they're supposed to deliver. Now, all of those other attachments were not really included in the franchise agreement itself. So they can go get away with the technicality here. But I would like to read something that is in the franchise agreement, and that's actually Section 5, responsibility to the public. The grantee shall improve and extend its services in areas not yet served. So, as it is in the first year alone, maybe because of all of these other happenings, they're saying that they're not able to do that. Attorney Tamano?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor. I think, Your Honor, please, and allow me to say that what is controlling in regard the franchise commitments would be the CPCN that was issued by the NTC. Per our CPCN, we do have a minimum number of barangays of coverage for year 1. That's 7,425. We will be able to achieve this, Your Honor. I just want to assure this honorable committee that first, we will abide by all our commitments in our CPCN, including the number of barangays. Please do know that per the CPCN, it does not list the specific barangays that we have to hit, because what is very difficult, Your Honors, is that we have a time-bound commitment. To be very honest, hand on my heart, I am from Mindanao. I have relatives in ARM. I would be very happy if we start there and build our towers there. But I know because of the population coverage in ARM, we will not be able to meet our government commitments that way. That's why we have to do it in a very logical and very, let's say, efficient way, which is, unfortunately, we start off with the NCR areas, with Cebu, with Davao. Engineer Pierre is a friend of mine. We've had this discussion, and I share with him the passion. We want to get to the underserved areas. But allow us to say, Madam Senator, that on the 5th year, we will go beyond our 84% requirement. We do intend, and allow me to say it here at the Senate hearing, privately, myself and General Santiago, internally at DITO, we intend to hit 90%. Because to be very honest, we intend to serve those underserved areas.
Okay.
Because not
How
only
many
because it's good for
barangays
nation
in your
building,
CPCN?
but there is a business case for that as well, Your Honor.
Attorney Tamano, how many barangays did you
For year
list?
1, yeah. Yes,
How many?
for year 1, Your Honor, it is 7,425.
Okay.
For year 2, it is 11,235. For year 3, it is 20,057. For year 4, it is 25,596.
Okay.
And for year 5, it is 27,851, Your Honor.
All right. So that point is well taken. Submit again those to us. We have so many submissions already. Now, may I ask, Dito, you will be spending about 200, I think with the presentation of NTC, about 200 something billion pesos for the
7 billion.
completion of this rollout. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor. 257.
Are you having any financial challenges at this point for capitalization?
At this point right now, Your Honor, I can say that at least for 2020, we are, in regard our capitalization, are not having any issues or concerns. But of course, 257 billion, Your Honor, is not, it's not easy to come up with that money. But at least for this year and next year, we are quite confident we have sufficient funding, Your Honor.
What makes you more optimistic to get more funding next year?
I think what will truly be critical is that we have a success. First, we have to pass our government audit, January 7, and then have a success. Go on.
I have
And
another
the franchise
question.
extension, Your Honor, as well.
There is, I'm sorry, Attorney Tamano, I'm trying to do the checklist here of all the questions
yes.
that we have to finish.
Yes, sir.
There is an Alt Global Solutions Incorporated, a common tower provider, signed a MOA with the ICT to expedite the process of granting permits for the construction of cell towers. Can you tell me, do you have any dealings with Alt Global Tower Policy?
Your Honor, Major General Santiago will answer that.
Yes, Madam Chair. Alt Global is one of the independent tower companies that we have signed contracts with so that they can build their towers for us and we lease them.
Okay. Who is behind Alt Global? Any individual we know? What company is this? What is their track record?
In general, Madam Chair, there are no local companies that have a track record in terms of being an independent tower company. So they usually the local company enters into a joint venture or partnership with a foreign company that has extensive expertise in running independent towers. As to the ownership of Alt Global, I have nothing at present in terms of their ownership. We can provide you later, Madam Chair, the details of the ownership of Alt Global.
Okay, this is what I want to call your attention to, and I'd like to, I'm still verifying this. Alt Global offered to rent a small lot area to put up a 10-foot tower, okay, or 10-foot towers. Their agent, this is a report to me by one of the ones that Alt Global contacted. Their agents are offering 6 million for 30 years rental for those towers. But the owner will only receive 3.36 million because the rest is being kept by Alt Global as processing fee and taxes. And they're also asking 5% for the agents from the lot owner. And there's also no clear wala ring klaro, I'll just read it as it is. Wala ring klaro kung sino magiging responsable sa security and maintenance ng towers kapag naitayo ito. While it is true na hindi mawawala ang lote, pero hindi malinaw ang responsibility sa towers ang masyadong malaki ang gustong kunin ng Alt Global. Nasa radar ba ito ng BIR at ng NTC? So, after they put it up, who will maintain it? And is that really how much the company that's putting up? I mean, I assume that Dito is already paying All Global, even getting fees from from the individuals that they're going to lease land to. Are you familiar with this?
Your Honor, unfortunately, there are a lot of scammers. That seems to be the modus operandi of similar scams that have been reported to us. This time, they are using an independent tower company name, but in other places, Your Honor, they actually pretend to be Dito employees or contractors. We have even seen pictures of people in Dito uniforms with cars with Dito logos. We have already set up a hotline to report all these scammers. And in fact, we are also coordinating through our security team with the local government police in those areas where we receive these reports. Unfortunately, Your Honor, this is something that is ongoing, and we have had press conferences on this to tell the public that Dito does not ask for any processing fee, any commission, and if the offer is too good to be true, they usually offer 25 million or 30 million over 15 to 20 years. Usually it's not true, Your Honor. I apologize.
Okay, but once you build a tower, let's say Alt Global or any other contracting company will build a tower for you, whose responsibility is it to maintain it?
Ma'am, it is the responsibility of the independent tower company to provide maintenance, to provide security, and to provide all the concomitant services of the passive infrastructure.
Okay, can you give me a hotline number of Dito Communications for individuals to call if they have any questions about the authority of anybody doing transacting or negotiating on behalf of Dito?
We actually have an email address, info@dito.ph, and we have
I'm sorry, info
at dito.ph.
info@dito.ph.
Yeah, yes,
wala ba kayong cellphone number na pwedeng i-text?
The management decision, Your Honor, was we prefer to get this information through email. And because we do have a dedicated team, a whole team that handles all these complaints, and to allow us also to inform our security team so that we can work with local police.
Okay, Attorney Tamano, here's a very simple question. If you are to roll out in urban centers next year, January, I am a resident in Quezon City. I am not very happy with my connection. Internet connection. Would you be able to provide service in my area, or is there a general delineation between telecom companies that you're not able to come in here?
It's supposed to be we can.
Please,
Madam Chair, supposed to be we can. There's no agreement between the telcos to provide services in certain areas. Quezon City is one of our priority areas, and I hope that our coverage will include the residents of the chair.
Okay, good. Not for anything, but it's almost like the vaccine. I'm willing to be a guinea pig. Of course, if all of a sudden all my conversations here are known to other foreign countries, then I know that we are not actually safe. But just as a fair warning to whoever wants to snoop, I think you might be disinterested with the topics that we usually discuss, which is like plants or the recipe for tomorrow. Because I hardly really discuss anything of national security significance if it will imperil our situation online, as also the concern of Secretary Esperon and of course our majority leader who works with the minority. We don't do it's better face to face. Yes.
Ma'am, may I assure you that your communication and the communication of the public, if they use the DITO services, will be protected.
Okay, then sign me up for January. I'd like to
Actually,
test
ma'am,
your
yes,
capability. Yes.
yeah, Your Honor, actually, we were debating whether we were going to actually do it at this hearing, but we were planning to invite Your Honor and maybe some of the senators to join our friendly user test. So you would be some of the first people to experience using our network. There, we can discuss it offline, Your Honors, with your staff. But we would be very happy if you or some of the members of this honorable committee would be willing to try out our network and be one of the first people to try it, even before commercial launch, and give us your feedback, what needs to be improved, etc., Your Honor.
Well, that would be appreciated. Senator Hontiveros, you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just two quick points as follow-up to the Chair's questions. One is, just for the record, a brief manifestation that gusto ko pong balikan yung isang point ni Engineer Gala kanina. Regardless of the final list of barangays that's in the CPCN, hindi po pwedeng i-disregard o kalimutan yung nasa bid document, yung mga barangay na in-identify doon na mako-cover doon sa unang taon ng dito. Because if we do that, otherwise, it would seem to make a mockery of the bidding process. Alam naman natin yung prinsipyo na terms of the bid may not be changed after that franchise is consummated. It may not be materially or substantially changed. And then pangalawa, Madam Chair, just a follow-up question for Dito, either Attorney Adele or the good General. What is the source of funding of Dito, which gives rise to the confidence of the company for this year and the incoming year, Madam Chair?
Ma'am, the first question, our first year commitment for the number of barangays is 7,425. As of today, our simulation is that we have already covered 8,800 barangays. We're confident that by the end of the year, we will be close to 10,000 barangays to be covered by our network.
I understand the numbers po. General, my point was that the specific barangays that were identified.
Opo, ma'am. That is my second statement. We did a clarificatory meeting with NTC as to the specificity of the barangays, because we see that there might be entities that will do things that will prevent us from rolling out as to complying to the specific list. Napakahirap naman po na isang scenario na out of the more than 7,400 na barangay, isang barangay doon hindi namin makover kasi nakausap yung barangay captain na hindi sila magtatayo doon. Hindi kami pwedeng makapagtayo ng cell site doon at hindi namin mako-cover. And by that, we cannot comply with our commitment to cover that barangay. Kaya po nagsabi kami sa NTC na po pwede ba kaming mag-provide ng alternative barangay doon sa areas na magkakaroon kami ng problema in terms of implementation. And they said yes.
In any case, General, and fair enough, sinabi naman ng chair na i-cross-check ng komite yung original list of barangays and the ones eventually that were covered. So I may have occasion or to follow up, raise some follow-up questions once that cross-checking is completed. Salamat po. As for my second question, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. So the financing is both equity and debt. So that's why we are quite confident that we will have sufficient resources to fulfill our government commitments. Please do allow me to say that the initial equity investment that was asked by the NTC was 10 billion. And in fact, at the onset, we put in double that. And we also do have the necessary loans with foreign banks to ensure that this project will be completed within 5 years, Your Honor. Thank you.
And Attorney Adele, Madam Chair, the 10 or rather 20 billion since dinoble nyo nga yung equity accounts for what percentage of the total funding?
My apologies, Madam Senator. May I get back
I think
to you?
if it's a 10 billion that you already submitted, your commitment is about 200 billion, so about 5%.
And then they doubled it, Madam Chair, so 10% now.
Yes, forgive me, Your Honor. I'm very bad at math. That's why I took up the law.
Then you can be a senator like us. No, just kidding.
That's what I
We only have a few.
for Madam Chair. So the debt would account for 90%, Attorney Adele.
No, Your Honors. We are sticking with a 70-30 debt to equity ratio. And again, please do allow us to make a submission on that. My math inadequacy is showing, and apologies, Your Honors.
No problem, Attorney Adele. Lastly, the debt will be coming from which banks? Or you mentioned foreign banks. Which foreign banks will be providing that?
There are a number of foreign banks. Bank of China is one. Ming Sheng Bank is another one of the other banks. I think there are maybe two or three more. I may also, with the permission of this honorable committee, we can provide that list to the committee, Your Honors.
Thank you, Attorney Adele. And if it's possible, math-wise, to share with the committee what percentage of the foreign loans are coming from which bank, like what percentage from Bank of China and from the 3 or 4 other banks. Thank you,
Sure.
Attorney, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Risa.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, if I
Yes,
would
Senator
permit to-
Recto is now recognized.
Yeah, just very, very brief, since we're talking about the equity and debt.
Yeah, please take your time, Senator Rector. You're usually very enlightening in this aspect of finance, and which is crucial also for them to be able to sustain their rollout. Thank you.
It's
Go
really
ahead.
for education as well. Now, some of the questions I'd like to ask to anyone who could answer the questions. So maybe the ICT or maybe Engineer Gala. What is the total gross revenue of our telecommunication industry today? Would anyone from the DICT or representative from democracy.net, engineer?
Madam Chair, it has been pegged at around 2 trillion pesos, but this is an estimate. There has been no studies on this matter yet.
2 trillion total gross revenue of the telecommunications industry?
Yeah, yes, Madam Chair, because this number includes income derived from sari-sari stores who sell load.
Yes, correct.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so what is the market share of Globe and Smart today?
In the ICT sector, Madam Chair, they very nearly have 40 and 40 between themselves, and the other 20 being to the other wired service providers.
Okay, so 80% of 2 trillion is divided between Globe and Smart, is that correct?
No, Madam Chair, because the earnings of that also they include in the count ordinary citizens who sell load and things like that. So
okay, so we're double counting also. So
yes.
What is the total revenue more or less of Globe, and what would be the total revenue of Smart more or less, or PLDT?
Mr. Chair, I do not know of. I have not yet reviewed their audited financial statement of last year, but we can find it from those.
Yes, we should be able to find that, no? NTC Cordoba, would you have the numbers? It's just a ballpark figure.
Your Honor, Depcom Cabarrios would have the figures, Your Honor. He has
With
the
it?
details right now. He's with us right now. Depcom Cabarrios po.
Okay,
Them
Mr.
go?
Caballos.
Yeah, Madam Chair, good afternoon. The gross income of the industry, is 400 billion.
400
I'm sorry.
billion.
400 billion, yes.
Okay, and how much is Globe and how much is Smart, more or less?
They're almost the same, but Smart has a little higher in cost revenue than low.
Yes. So how much is Smart, more or less?
Smart is PLDT Group, Your Honor.
Yes, yes.
Group, I guess, is close to 200 billion. So 160 to 170 billion.
Okay. Of that 200 billion in revenues, how much goes to CapEx?
The details, Your Honor, it's not with me right now, Your Honor.
I think if I may answer,
Yes, please.
I think no. This is the number of cell towers. It will, yeah, I digress. I think I was thinking of the number of cell towers and the percentages.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yeah.
I'm interested to know how much
Yes.
is that going back for capex.
Yes, more or less. Attorney, how much more or less of total revenues go to CapEx?
Your Honors, may I be allowed to answer?
Yes, please.
There's a study made po by the Fitch Ratings. In the Philippines po, they are pegging it at 40%.
So 40% of 200 billion. So 80 billion will go to CapEx. Okay? That is yearly?
That is yearly, Your Honors.
Okay.
Yun pong mga figures po nila is close to that amount.
Okay. So same would be for Globe as well. 40% of their total revenue, roughly another 80 billion.
Yes, Your Honor.
So between the two telcos, that's 160 billion a year. Okay? And dito, how much are we talking about? What is their capitalization today?
Right now, I think they're going to spend 10 billion. Am I correct? 10 billion for 2020?
Yeah. Your Honors, in terms of capitalization, meaning how much money that the company has itself, we're around 20 billion pesos. In terms of the capex spend that we've spent this year, Your Honors, we've spent 150 billion pesos, Your Honors.
150.
You've spent 150 billion this year on capex?
Yes, Your Honors, because Major General Santiago can explain, we have had to build several thousand towers and data centers, and essentially the network for our telecommunication facilities.
Okay. And your equity is how much?
Right now it's about 20 billion, Your Honor.
20 billion, and you spent 150 billion in capex in 1 year.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Senator Ralph. Just 1 second. I'm a bit confused there.
Yeah, precisely.
What is the 10 billion that you mentioned earlier?
Your Honor, under the terms of reference, the MC 0909-2018, we were required to have 10 billion in terms of equity.
That's equity. That's not actually spending. So
yes,
if you spent 150 billion already, your total commitment is 250 billion, right?
257, Your Honor.
So you spent 157. What is your total commitment for the 5 years?
In the first year, Your Honor. Yes, we spent a majority of it, front-loading it in the first year because of the need to set up the network.
Critical component.
So 157, but the total is how much? The total amount?
Is 257, Your Honor.
257. Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Sorry for the interjection, Senator Ralph. Go ahead, please.
Finalize, yes. So your equity is 20 billion and you spent 150 billion. Does that mean you borrowed 130 billion? So you have debts of 130 billion, is that correct?
No, Your Honor. We also have shareholders' advances that form part of the spending, but we have not converted that into equity, Your Honors.
Yeah, so it's a liability. It's still a liability, isn't it?
Yes, but it's not debt.
Part of debt.
Yeah.
It's not debt, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you submit your latest financial statements to the committee?
The 2019 AFS, Your Honor, we have submitted that.
What about 2020?
Don't have. We're supposed to. That's for next year.
Yeah, it's to be submitted next year, Your Honor.
Next year. Why? What about as of June?
We had the
Because you're claiming that you've spent 150 billion and that you have equity of 20. So you would have your latest financial statements. Wouldn't that be right?
We follow a January to December calendar. That's why what we did was we submitted the one for 2019. Now, if they want a
So sorry, Your Honors, I'm just conferring with our counsel.
if they want something that starts from June to June, we can do that. But we have to make the submission. They have to do the audit this year.
Yeah.
Today. So we can submit that probably by January or February.
We can submit our audited financial statement.
If they want.
If the committee would want us to submit it, we can submit it by January, Your Honors.
For a year ending June 2020.
For a year ending in June 2020.
Just an updated financial statement would be helpful.
Noted, Your Honor. We will submit.
Okay. So
thank you.
we will ask for an updated one, what you have right now, to be submitted to our committee for the prior evaluation of Senator Recto, and then in January your submission for this year.
Yes. No further questions, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
All right, Senator Hontiveros is recognized again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one more question at this point. Returning to an earlier point raised by Engineer Gala, that until the audit happens, we don't really know whether indeed 1,900 towers have already been erected by DITO. So could I please ask our resource persons from DITO if they could provide the committee the location of all your towers?
If Your Honors, please, we've actually already submitted, as of October 21, our quarterly report that we submitted to the NTC. In page 4, in regard key performance indicators, it states where the cell sites, data centers, and fibers are located on a per region basis, Your Honors. We have submitted it already to the Honorable Committee.
Thank you, Attorney Adele. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any more questions from our senators present? All right. This is what we need to do. We obviously have to go through further evaluation of the submissions and accomplishments of DITO. To recap, by next year, we will see in January if they're actually ready with their commercial rollout by March. I think maybe Engineer Gala, would you be amenable to having a DITO line also in your residence for evaluation?
Yes, Madam Chair. In fact, I'm rather disappointed that despite our conversations, all the conversations are about wireless. There's no conversation about wired. And hopefully we can see that on a later date.
Okay, so that's noted. And then, so the submission of the barangays, how many, and then the location of the cell towers, your financial statements, among others, and all the other submissions that our committee secretary will give DITO, as well as the NTC, if whatever submissions we need. Now, there'll be a separate executive session on the national security aspect, but we have to be able to evaluate DITO's commitment at face value without this national security first. Then we will also take that into consideration. Your franchise will end in 2023, am I correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
So you have enough time.
If the question is, can we wait till 2023, Your Honor? I think to protect the public, since they will be investing in SIM cards and phones from our company, we would really humbly ask this honorable committee to approve our extension well before that, Your Honor.
You're not going to use the franchise as a collateral to be able to get more investments, will you? Is that what's happening?
No, Your Honor. But of course, I think there will be more confidence in the viability of our enterprise if the franchise is extended.
Madam Chair, may I ask may I ask a question? Madam Chair, Senator Mix.
Yeah, yes, minority leaders I'm sorry, the majority leader is recognized.
No worries. I'm not as learned as the minority floor leader. Boss natin yan. For Attorney Adel, no, isn't it going to be more difficult though to get your loans approved if you don't have a franchise when you roll out on March? I think that's one of the problems.
To be very
Yeah,
candid,
be
yes, Your
very
Honor.
candid about it. You have to let us know because that will also help us in the speed of which we will approve your franchise. It will be very difficult for you guys to roll out fully on March, right? If basically the franchise is not approved by then. Am I correct or I'm not correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's like
Majority
yes.
leader, why would it be difficult for them to roll out in March if their franchise is not approved?
I think it'd be very practical for the bank, Madam Chairperson. For example, if they're going to give out a 10-year loan, and then the franchise only has a life of 2 years, I don't think they will make it a prerequisite to the approval of the loan. I'm sure, because it's just like the electric cooperatives now. I'm dealing with our electric cooperative here in Bukidnon. We're in their electric cooperative permit. They have to apply now for a franchise. Is only about 2 or 3 years left, and they're trying to apply for more power generation, more power providers. The problem is the power providers don't want to give them a fixed contract because they don't know if the life of their cooperative will be they cannot give a 10-year power supply agreement if the life of the cooperative is only 3 years, and therefore there's no security on the 7th year if they do not get their franchise application. So that I think is a practical question, I guess, for all investors to make. It's a problem which investors have to contend with. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, Senator Zubiri, here's the thing. When Dito applied for this franchise and made all these commitments, they should have had the forecast of what they were going to spend already. They should not have anticipated that they will get a renewal of their franchise unless they're able to produce the commitments that they were able to make without an additional funding based on the 25 years that they are expecting to get. So with that,
I agree. I agree with you, Chairperson. I agree with you that the commitments of rollout should be regardless of that. But I'm just looking at it as a businessman's point of view. I guess that is a situation that they face.
No, because what we're trying to prevent here is that other applicants will anticipate a renewal and then they're not anymore rolling out unless they get that renewal of the franchise. I don't want our committee to be a hostage of that. So the basis really of granting the franchise, because we'll be remiss also in our responsibility, is that they're able to provide at least the initial commitment that they gave, which is 27 Mbps, 37% coverage, etc. And then if they're able to commit that, do that, then we will be able to determine if we will give them the additional 25 years.
I leave it to the wisdom of my senior seatmate. To the chairperson.
No. Because otherwise,
I agree with you. There has to be some deliverables that they want to present. But I'm just also pointing out that they might have a hard
sa atin
time.
ganito. Kung yung ibang bakit natin pinayagan ng isang prangkisa na ganito, hindi naman pala naka-deliver, bakit natin pinayagan? Di ba? Binigyan pa natin ng 25 years.
Although, Madam Chair, we have a lot of applicants for telecommunications franchises that really that are shell companies at this point in time. Once they get their franchise, that's the only time actually that they will increase their capital base. They will file the loan applications and then they'll start rolling out. Many, even I believe Instant. Is it Instant? The other, yes, Instant Data. I'm sure they do not have what Dito has had done, which is to roll out all these cables and all these fiber optic cables and all these infrastructure. So that's all. That's what I wanted to point out, Madam Chair. But I agree, if this is going to be a third telco, so this is a big responsibility on their part. They have to come up with deliverables. I just wanted to point that out, Madam Chair. I think I was just pointing that out because I think Attorney Adele was being too nice about it. So it's best that he was candid about it para malaman din ng mga member ng committee that it's sort of a chicken or the egg scenario wherein um, uh, they'll try to roll out as much as they can, but without the approval of the loans, hindi naman nila ma-self-finance lahat yan. They're not as big as Ayala or the MVP group. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, I understand, Senator Zubiri. You're right. There are many applicants for franchises who don't have the complete capitalization that they need, but at least for their renewals, they're able to deliver what they committed. And then once we check and evaluate, because Smart renewed their franchise, Globe renewed their franchise, unfortunately, it's just a very bare minimum. So we're very excited to have another player come in and to provide that service. So we're just here to safeguard the commitments made to the government. Senator Risa, before we wrap up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In addition to ascertaining Dito's fulfillment of its commitments under its first franchise, I do appreciate the chairs guiding the committee in taking a reasonable amount of time to consider the renewal of the franchise because it's quite a unique franchise. It's a unique company in this sector or in any other perhaps because of the national security issues that have been raised. And lalo na because we're looking at a time frame of a quarter of a century during which time ang dami pa nating i-resolve with China here in our region. I really appreciate, importante na we set aside enough time in open hearing and in the executive session to satisfactorily resolve those issues, Madam Chair. So maraming salamat po.
Okay, with that, I would like to ask also instant data. We will not be able to tackle your franchise today. I don't think your president or CEO is present yet. I will give you another chance to, I'm sorry, Attorney Bartolome, are they here?
Yes, Madam Chair, we are here. Sincere apologies for our president, Mr. Cruz, not being able to join today. We'd like to ask for forgiveness of everyone in the committee and everyone who is here present and all the members. If given the chance for a next hearing with you all, we will come prepared and we will give you better answers to your questions.
So you're saying that you didn't come prepared today?
No, ma'am. Sorry. With regards lang to the connection and everything like that.
In fact, okay, if I may be honest about this,
yes,
your presentation earlier or your introduction was very underwhelming. I would like to remind those that are seeking a franchise that, as mentioned earlier, this is a privilege. Senator Bongo mentioned it himself. This is a privilege and not a right granted to you. So you have to be able to argue your case that you are providing service. We don't even know your chairman or your president. Please submit his biodata to us as well, aside from the profile of your company.
Yes, ma'am.
And what makes you capable of rolling out this type of service to our countrymen. We gave you a chance for a hearing before the year end, even if we are busy deliberating many other important bills in the Senate. I hope that you don't take the time that we gave you lightly.
No, ma'am. No, not at all, ma'am. Sorry. We sincerely apologize again for the time that you spent with us, and
not just my time, but the time of my fellow senators and the resource persons present here. So may I ask Engineer Gala, please look into instant data also. We will submit to you their profile. You're the expert, an independent expert, and we'd like to hear your views on the matter. So with that, we are excitedly anticipating the rollout of Dito in January. We are one with you in your goals to hopefully provide the service that you promised to our countrymen. We badly need it. So with that, this hearing is suspended. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
Chairperson.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.